Marcus Shaw's weathered hands freeze mid-calibration as a weak chirp emanates from beneath the damaged maintenance panel. At 68, the veteran combat systems engineer has heard countless sounds aboard the United Earth Defense Station Aegis, but this one strikes a chord he hasn't felt since losing his son in the first contact war 2 decades ago. The engineering bay's harsh lighting flickers, casting shadows across scattered tools and diagnostic equipment. Recent Craxi Raider attacks have left the station's systems in disarray. Marcus sets down his plasma spanner and peers into the darkness beneath the panel. Two bioluminescent eyes stare back at him. Well, what do we have here? He discovers a Draconis hatchling, no larger than a human child, trembling in the confined space. The young alien's scales normally and impenetrable natural armor show dangerous gaps where protective plates failed to develop. Marcus recognizes the rare genetic defect from his briefings on their warrior diplomat allies. The hatchling, who Marcus later learns is called Nina, attempts to retreat further into the crawlspace. Blood seeps from his exposed regions, marking him as easy prey for the Craxi Raiders who specifically target vulnerable Draconis young. Marcus's engineering mind kicks into overdrive, calculating angles and measurements as he surveys his workbench. "Don't move, little one. I can help." His hands, steady from 4 decades of crafting powered armor systems, begin assembling components. He cannibalizes spare parts and medical-grade polymers, fabricating a micro-scale armor suit that interfaces with Nina's existing plates while protecting the exposed areas. The overhead lights cut out. Emergency klaxons blare as the station's hull integrity alerts screech to life. Secondary Craxi Raiders have breached the outer sections. Marcus secures the final connection on Nina's improvised armor just as the artificial gravity stutters. "Hold on to me." Marcus helps Nina adjust to the protective suit, noting how the young alien's movements become more confident. The engineering bay's blast doors seal automatically, leaving them with limited options. Marcus grabs his toolkit, now their only weapons, and accesses a maintenance schematic. Through security feeds, he glimpses other Craxi Raiders pursuing fleeing Draconis children. The truth clicks into place. They're after genetic samples from unarmored hatchlings. The diplomatic quarters are 3 decks up, where Nina's warrior caste parents were stationed before the attack separated them. As artificial gravity fails again, Marcus secures Nina to his utility harness. "We're getting you home, but we'll have to be clever about it." He pries open an access panel, revealing a maintenance shaft. "Your new armor's our best chance at keeping you safe. Now, let's move before they find us." The station groans around them as they begin their perilous climb through its damaged superstructure. Marcus's determination fueled by the knowledge that his engineering skills may have just given this young alien a fighting chance at survival. Marcus guides Nina into the maintenance shaft, his experienced hands finding secure handholds in the darkness. The station's failing gravity causes tools to drift past them as they climb. Nina's claws scrape against metal, struggling to maintain grip as another gravity fluctuation hits. Wait! Marcus pulls them onto a stable maintenance platform, his engineering tablet casting a blue glow across their faces. Nina's new armor plates catch the light, but Marcus notices the young Draconis sliding with each gravity shift. He opens his toolkit, spotting the salvaged maintenance drone components inside. "Hold still." His fingers work swiftly, connecting magnetic grip units to Nina's armor joints. The parts whir to life, calibrating to the surrounding metal surfaces. "Try moving now." Nina takes an experimental step, the magnetic units automatically engaging and disengaging with each movement. The young alien chirps in approval, demonstrating newfound stability despite the wavering gravity. A harsh screech echoes through the shaft. Marcus's tablet displays movement 2 junctions ahead, a massive heat signature approaching their position. The figure that emerges towers over them, its insected carapace bearing distinctive commander markings. Marcus whispers to Nina, "Stay behind me." He connects his tablet to the nearest maintenance panel, fingers flying across the interface. The Craxi commander, Chitrix, advances with predatory grace, mandibles clicking in anticipation. The panel lights flash green. Marcus slams the emergency protocol execution key. Pressurized coolant explodes from overhead nozzles, instantly crystallizing around Chitrix. The Raider's limbs lock in place as containment foam hardens across its carapace. "Marcus Shaw." A deep voice calls from the adjacent junction. Security Chief Cooper emerges, plasma rifle raised. "I'd know your handiwork anywhere." That containment foam trick saved our unit in the Proxima engagement. "James." Marcus nods, keeping himself between Nina and the newcomer until recognition sets in. "What's happening out there?" Cooper secures the junction before approaching. "These raids aren't random. The Craxi are targeting Draconis, children with specific genetic markers, ones with armor plate variations." He gestures to Nina's exposed areas beneath the custom armor. "They're collecting specimens, trying to find weaknesses in Draconis' natural defenses." Marcus's tablet chirps with an alert, more raiders approaching. He examines the station's schematic, finding their route to the diplomatic quarter blocked by severe hull damage. "We need to go through hydroponics," Cooper says, checking his ammunition. "It's the only way up." Marcus studies the cylindrical chamber's readouts on his tablet. The variable gravity zones are unstable. Without proper compensation, we'll be crushed or thrown into the walls. Working quickly, Marcus dismantles his utility harness, integrating the remaining magnetic components from his toolkit. The modified harness sparks as he tests the connections. His tablet displays Nina's bio-readings, the young alien's armor plates contracting from stress. The armor adaptation should hold. Marcus adjusts the final magnetic calibration. "But we need to move now." Heavy footsteps echo through the maintenance shaft. Cooper takes position at the junction, his rifle humming to life. Multiple contacts incoming. "Time's up, Shaw." Marcus activates the magnetic systems on both harnesses, the hardware pulsing with energy as they prepare to enter hydroponics. The station groans around them, and his tablet displays massive power fluctuations throughout the grid. The Raider's ship, Marcus realizes, studying the energy patterns. It's drawing power somewhere nearby. That's what's affecting our systems. He saves the power distribution data for later analysis first. They need to survive the crossing. Cooper's rifle fires, the plasma burst illuminating multiple Craxi shadows advancing through the maintenance shaft. Marcus secures Nina's harness one final time as they face the hydroponics bay's sealed doors, knowing the chaotic gravity zones beyond could either provide their escape or seal their fate. Marcus inputs the access code, and the hydroponics bay doors slide open with a hydraulic hiss. The vast cylindrical chamber stretches upward through 3 deck levels, ghostly shadows cast by drifting agricultural pods swaying in the unstable gravity field. His tablet screen flickers with alarming power readings. "Movement above," Cooper whispers, positioning his rifle. "Multiple contacts." A figure darts between the agricultural pods ahead. Marcus raises his tablet, ready to defend, but instead of a Craxi raider, Dr. Sarah Powell emerges from behind a control console. Her botanist's uniform bears scorch marks from earlier weapons fire. "Shaw." Her eyes lock onto Nina. "I saw what they're doing to the hatchlings. The raiders tried accessing our emergency systems. They've completely destabilized the gravity controls." Marcus's tablet chirps in confirmation. The screen displays a complex web of intersecting gravity fields, some areas registering at crushing levels while others show near zero gravity. Loose equipment floats by, then suddenly accelerates downward as it crosses an invisible threshold. "We need a path through," Marcus says, his fingers flying across the tablet's interface. He programs a quick algorithm to track debris movement, mapping the gravitational shifts. They see how the pods are moving. We can time our crossing between the gravity zones. Cooper deploys a portable energy barrier across the corridor they just exited, buying them precious seconds. Marcus connects their harnesses with magnetic tethers, positioning Nina between them. The young Draconis's armor whirs softly, adjusting to the fluctuating gravitational forces. A metallic screech echoes through the chamber. Above them, the upper access hatch bursts inward. Craxi raiders descend on mechanical grip lines, their segmented limbs moving with predatory grace. Down! Cooper shouts, plasma bolts streaking upward. Marcus studies the raiders' descent through his tablet's scanner. Their grip mechanisms, they're purely mechanical, no magnetic compensation. Dr. Powell's fingers dance across her console. I still have limited access to the gravity controls if we time it right. Do it, Marcus commands, nodding the strain indicators mounting on Nina's armor display. Cooper, target the rightmost raiders. Powell, on my mark, shift gravity in Section 4 Alpha. Cooper's rifle cracks out a precise rhythm. The raiders scatter, their grip lines swaying. Marcus watches the debris patterns, calculating trajectories. Now, Powell slams the controls. A wave of crushing gravity rolls through the chamber's upper quadrant. 3 raiders lose their grip, tumbling into their companions below. Their chitinous armor cracks against the chamber walls. Warning klaxons blare. Red emergency lights strobe across the hydroponics bay as atmospheric pressure warnings flash on Marcus's tablet. The power surge has damaged critical life support systems. Emergency containment failing, Powell announces. We have minutes before the bulkheads seal. They advance through the chamber, Marcus constantly adjusting their magnetic tethers. Nina moves gracefully in zero-gravity sections, but each high-gravity zone sends warnings cascading across Marcus's tablet. Hairline stress fractures appear in the armor's junction points. Hold, Marcus calls out, fingers working to reinforce the armor's power distribution. Another second and his tablet screams with new alerts. Power readings spike from the lower decks, accompanied by familiar energy signatures. They're interfacing with the main reactor, Marcus says, recognizing the patterns. These weren't just raid teams, they're trying to take control of the entire station. A massive gravity surge rocks the chamber. Agricultural pods tear free from their moorings, forcing the team to dodge the spinning debris. Nina's armor creaks under the strain, but the magnetic systems hold. The diplomatic quarter won't matter if they breach reactor containment, Cooper says, checking his ammunition reserves. We need proof of what they're doing here. Marcus's tablet shows another power spike building. They have moments to decide: continue upward to safety, or descend into the reactor levels to stop the Craxi's true plan. Either way, the bulkheads will seal soon, trapping them in their chosen path. Nina's claws grip Marcus's arm. The young Draconis points downward, toward the reactor core. Even through the armor systems, Marcus feels the hatchling's trembling grit. A faint chirp cuts through the chamber's chaos, not from Nina, but from Marcus's tablet. He studies the incoming signal, his eyes widening at the familiar pattern pulsing across the screen. That's a Draconis emergency beacon, he says, adjusting the scanner's frequency. Moving parallel to us through the maintenance tunnels. Cooper leans in, checking the signal pattern. Diplomatic security variant. Someone made it out of the command center. They follow the beacon's trail to a sealed maintenance junction. Marcus bypasses the lock, and the doors slide open to reveal a massive figure hunched in the darkness. Commander Raxus's battle-scarred scales catch the emergency lights as he rises to his full 8-foot height, his eyes immediately finding Nina. The commander moves forward, then halts as his gaze tracks over the improvised armor protecting his child. His claws flex, but his voice remains steady. Engineer Shaw, your reputation for resourcefulness appears well-earned. Commander, Marcus steps aside, allowing Nina to approach her father. We've been tracking unusual patterns in the raiders' movements. They're after her. Raxus's scales ripple with awe-inspiring rage. The Craxi intercepted Nina's medical data during routine diplomatic transmissions. Her condition makes her valuable to them. They want to use her genetic markers to develop bioweapons against your people, Cooper says. Yes, but not alone. Raxus activates a data crystal, projecting intercepted communications into the air. The Terra Prima Initiative is funding these raids. They seek to destabilize the Human-Draconis alliance by exploiting perceived weaknesses in our species. Marcus's tablet chirps again, this time displaying familiar encryption patterns in the station's network traffic. These are Terra Prima military protocols. The Craxi are using them to access our systems. A digital trail, Cooper says. If we can preserve it, we can expose both organizations, Marcus finishes, his fingers flying across the interface. But we need to reach the external maintenance array. From there, I can broadcast a shutdown signal to their ships. Raxus nods toward a maintenance shaft. This route bypasses the reactor control room but requires crossing through vacuum-exposed sections. Marcus scans Nina's armor readouts. The suit components I integrated are space-rated, limited protection, but it'll work. A warning indicator flashes. Power cells are draining fast, though. The gravity compensation is burning through reserves. The station shudders. Through the viewport, Marcus spots Craxi vessels maintaining position, their hulls jam-packed with familiar technology. Those dampening field generators, he says. Their Terra Prima prototypes reported destroyed months ago. A screech of tearing metal echoes through the crawlspace. Cooper's rifle snaps up as plasma light blazes through new cuts appearing in the outer hull. "They've found us," Raxus says, positioning himself between the breach points and the group. "Move." Marcus secures Nina's helmet seals as atmosphere begins venting through the growing holes. His tablet displays a countdown of their remaining oxygen supply alongside the armor's power reserves. Both numbers drop steadily as they navigate the treacherous crossing. Debris tumbles past them, drawn toward the vacuum. Raxus uses his massive frame to deflect larger pieces, his natural armor withstanding impacts that would shred Marcus's suit. The commander's presence forms a living shield, giving Marcus precious seconds to monitor Nina's systems and guide them toward the maintenance array. The Craxi cut through another section ahead, plasma torches carving geometric patterns in the hull. Marcus checks his tablet's map, calculating their remaining distance against their dwindling resources. The external array looms ahead, and with it, their chance to disable the raiders' ships and expose the conspiracy threatening both their species. More hull plates tear free. Through the widening gaps, Marcus glimpses Craxi boarders in environmental suits, advancing with cutting tools extended. The race against their depleting oxygen takes on new urgency as enemy forces close in from multiple directions. Through the widening hull breaches, Marcus's tablet emits a shrill alert. The power distribution readout for Nina's armor flashes. Read the gravitational compensation systems have overloaded the primary coupling. Diagnostic data streams across his screen, revealing cascading failures throughout the improvised protection system. "Power couplings failing," Marcus announces, his fingers flying across the interface. "Redirecting emergency power now." He diverts energy from his own magnetic harness, watching his protection levels drop as Nina's stabilize. The young Draconis chirps in concern, but Marcus shakes his head. "Your life support takes priority." Commander Raxus shifts his massive frame, using his natural armor to shield Marcus from a passing chunk of debris. "Your sacrifice is noted, Engineer Shaw." The tablet chirps again, this time displaying an urgent atmospheric warning. Marcus's eyes widen at the readings. Solar storm approaching. Station shields are offline from the power drain. "The maintenance airlock," Cooper says, gesturing ahead through the debris field. 20 meters, but that section's taken heavy damage." Twisted metal and shattered equipment float in their path, creating a dangerous maze of jagged edges and spinning hazards. A figure waves from behind the airlock's viewport, another survivor trapped inside. They navigate carefully through the debris. Raxus uses his bulk to deflect larger pieces, while Cooper maintains watch for pursuing Craxi. Marcus keeps his attention split between Nina's armor readings and calculating safe passages through the field. The airlock cycles open, revealing a disheveled man in station engineering coveralls. Technical Specialist William Hart, he introduces himself, helping them inside. I was investigating the comm array when they hit us. What did you find? Marcus asks, connecting his tablet to the airlock systems. Terra Prima modifications, Hart says, pulling up schematics on the wall display. Hidden protocols designed to mask incoming ships. They had help from inside the station. Marcus studies the communications data, noting familiar encryption patterns. These match the protocols they're using to control station systems. But look, he highlights a section of code. The array could broadcast a shutdown signal to their ships. Too far, Cooper says. We'd need to be practically on top of them. Marcus's gaze falls on a cluster of maintenance drones trapped in the debris field. Maybe not. Those drones with some modifications. He retrieves one through the airlock service port, quickly dismantling his damaged harness for parts. The drone's simple AI core accepts his reprogramming, but transmitting the complex Terra Prima protocols presents a new challenge. Nina's armor, Marcus realizes. The hybrid systems could bridge the compatibility gap, but we'd need to temporarily divert power from her radiation shielding. Commander Raxus stiffens, scales rippling with tension. Nina steps forward, placing a clawed hand on the drone. The young Draconis's eyes meet Marcus's, conveying understanding beyond words. She wants to help, Marcus says softly. To protect others like her. The airlock's proximity sensors light up with multiple contacts. Through the viewport, sleek Craxi boarding craft maneuver into position, their weapon ports cycling open. Incoming. Cooper takes up a defensive position. Elite void warfare units. Marcus looks between the drone and Nina, then to Commander Raxus. The Draconis commander studies his child's determined stance, scales shifting in a complex pattern of parental pride and concern. Begin the modifications, Raxus commands. We will defend this position. Marcus's hands move swiftly over the drone's circuitry as the first impacts rock the airlock. The sound of cutting torches fills the chamber, accompanied by the distinct screech of Craxi void armor against the hull. Time runs short as Marcus works to integrate Nina's armor systems with the drone, racing against both the approaching solar storm and the Craxi assault team burning through the airlock's outer hull. Marcus's hands freeze mid-connection as metallic scraping echoes through the airlock's outer hull. He quickly pulls components from the nearest maintenance drone, assembling a makeshift signal relay. The device sparks as he integrates it with his engineering tablet. Nina, hold still, he says, connecting the relay to her armor's primary interface port. This should maintain your protection during the reconfiguration. A thunderous impact rocks the chamber. Commander Raxus positions himself at the exterior hatch, his armored bulk creating a living barricade. Plasma rounds impact his scales, dissipating harmlessly against the natural protection evolved over millennia of Draconis warfare. The access tunnel's emergency hatch cycles open with a pneumatic hiss. Cooper's rifle snaps toward the opening, lowering only when Station Commander Victor Petrov emerges, his uniform torn and scored with plasma burns. Terra Prima is purging the evidence, Petrov announces, securing the hatch behind him. They're deleting all traces of their involvement from our databases. He activates a tactical display. Second wave incoming specialized genetic sampling equipment aboard their ships. Marcus's fingers dance across his tablet, monitoring Nina's vital signs as he begins dismantling her armor's power distribution system. Commander Raxus, I need your diplomatic override codes to boost our transmission strength. The Draconis commander inputs a series of commands without taking his eyes off the advancing Craxi ships. The maintenance drone's status indicators shift from amber to green. Technical specialist Hart's hands blur across the drone's access panel. Reprogramming neural pathways now. These Terra Prima protocols are incredibly complex. The outer airlock groans. Superheated metal drips from precise cuts appearing in the reinforced hatch. Cooper and Petrov take up defensive positions as the first section gives way. Hart, Marcus calls out. Those equipment racks, we can use them as cover. The specialist activates the rack's magnetic bases, creating a barrier of steel and composite materials. The makeshift fortification deploys just as the Craxi shock troops breach the seal. Marcus diverts power to the local field generators, creating magnetic disruption zones that send the first wave of raiders tumbling in the zero gravity. Cooper exploits their disorientation, his precise shots finding gaps in their void armor. Nina's biosigns spike on Marcus's tablet. He stares at the readings in amazement as her natural armor plates begin synchronizing with his custom system's power signature. The hybrid integration creates defensive capabilities that shouldn't be possible. Her genetics, Marcus says, understanding flooding through him. It's not a defect, it's an advancement. A blinding flash forces him to shield his eyes. The solar storm's leading edge arrives, bathing the station in deadly radiation. Marcus releases the reprogrammed drone through a battle-damaged panel, but the unit immediately begins to drift off course. Control surfaces are damaged, Hart reports. Someone needs to guide it manually. Marcus looks at his radiation exposure meter, then at Nina's strengthening vital signs. The choice tears at him: maintain his focus on protecting her or risk his life to guide the drone. Before he can decide, plasma fire erupts from the access tunnel. Terra Prima strike team, Petrov shouts, diving behind the barrier. They followed my route. The airlock becomes a killing ground. Craxi troops pour through the breached exterior while Terra Prima operatives advance from the tunnel. Commander Raxus roars, his massive frame absorbing fire from both directions as he shields the others. Marcus's tablet emits a critical warning. Nina's hybrid armor shows unprecedented effectiveness, but the power cells approach complete depletion. Minutes remain before the system fails entirely. Hart's voice cuts through the chaos. The drone's losing altitude. If it doesn't reach the array, a Terra Prima grenade arcs through the air. Cooper kicks off the wall, magnetic boots disengaging as he intercepts the explosive. The detonation fills the chamber with debris, creating a temporary visual barrier between them and their attackers. Marcus studies the drone's trajectory on his tablet, calculating power requirements against remaining time. The solar storm intensifies outside, while inside, the sound of boots on metal announces the advance of both enemy forces. They've run out of places to retreat, and their window of opportunity shrinks with each passing second. Marcus's fingers flew across his tablet, decades of engineering experience crystallizing into a single solution. He yanked the power core from his magnetic harness, exposing delicate circuitry with practiced precision. The core's connection ports aligned perfectly with the airlock's emergency systems. Everyone brace. He activated the connection. A wave of electromagnetic energy pulsed through the chamber. The advancing Craxi troops spasmed as their void warfare systems shorted out. Terra Prima weapons sparked and died, their electronic targeting systems overwhelmed by the surge. Commander Raxus seized the moment, his massive frame moving with surprising speed toward the emergency access tunnel. His claws found purchase on the manual override controls. Muscles tensed as he engaged the lockdown protocols, massive security barriers slamming into place. The sound of Terra Prima troops pounding against the sealed barriers echoed through the chamber. Hart, Marcus called out, already reprogramming the remaining maintenance drones. Check the power grid readings. The specialist's eyes widened as data streamed across his display. These energy patterns, they're cyclic, based on old Earth military protocols. Marcus integrated the pattern recognition into his drone guidance systems. They've given us a targeting solution. The drones can track them automatically. A quiet hiss announced the opening of a maintenance shaft. Dr. Robert Kane emerged, his medical scanner already focused on Nina. Her biosignatures led me straight here. Marcus, look at these readings. The engineer glanced at Kane's display while connecting a defensive drone network. Nina's hybrid armor showed unprecedented integration levels. The artificial components merged seamlessly with her natural protection, creating something entirely new. Use these, Kane said, pulling medical power cells from his equipment. They'll stabilize her systems temporarily. Radiation warnings flashed across multiple displays. Cooper gestured toward the adjacent maintenance bay. We need to move, now. They relocated swiftly, Marcus knotting the standardized docking clamps on the Craxi boarding craft through the viewport. His hands moved across the drone controls, modifying their attack protocols. We can trap them here, target their escape route. Marcus. Hart's voice carried urgency. The Terra Prima team is drawing power directly from the reactor. They're burning through that barrier. The engineer's display confirmed it, reactor stability dropping as the thermal lances pulled massive power loads. He split his attention between drone programming and power grid monitoring, racing against cascading system failures. Doctor. Kane's medical scanner beeped steadily, tracking Nina's evolving armor integration. The symbiosis levels are unprecedented. Her genetic variance allows for technological integration that should be impossible. Marcus linked his tablet to the drone network, coordinating with Hart to synchronize their remaining functional systems. The station's reactor containment warnings increased in frequency. Through the maintenance bay viewport, he watched the Craxi vessels maintaining position, unaware their standardized docking clamps had become a critical vulnerability. The sound of thermal lances grew louder. Behind the sealed barrier, Terra Prima forces worked to burn through the station's reinforced bulkheads. Nina's armor readings fluctuated as the hybrid system adapted to the medical power cells. Multiple threats converged, pursuing forces, failing containment, and deadly radiation, all demanding immediate action. Marcus input the final drone command sequences, preparing to unleash their counterattack. The maintenance bay's sensors detected increasing radiation levels as the solar storm intensified. Time compressed into milliseconds as Marcus coordinated the intricate dance of drones, power systems, and defensive measures. Each element required precise timing, a synchronization of technology and tactics that would determine not just their survival, but the fate of the entire station. Marcus's display flashed another reactor warning as he executed emergency protocols. His fingers swept across the tablet, redirecting power from maintenance, life support, and non-essential systems. The diverted energy flowed into Nina's hybrid armor, stabilizing the fluctuating protection systems. Split up, Marcus commanded. Cooper, take defensive position by that junction. Hart, coordinate with Commander Raxus on the upper level. Dr. Kane and I will handle the drone network. The team moved with practiced efficiency. Cooper's rifle tracked between both entry points while Hart ascended to the elevated platform. Commander Raxus's scales rippled as he positioned himself to cover both angles of approach. Dr. Kane's medical scanner emitted a series of rapid beeps. Marcus, look at these readings. He tilted the display, showing cascading data patterns. Nina's armor isn't just protecting her, it's adapting, strengthening the vulnerable sections of her natural plating. Marcus studied the readouts while programming the maintenance drones. The genetic variance. It's not a defect at all, it's an evolutionary advancement. His hands moved faster across the controls. I can use this. The drones can broadcast the same biomechanical frequency her armor generates. The modified drones spread through the chamber, their emitters creating an electromagnetic web that scattered the Craxi scanning beams. Through the viewport, Marcus watched the enemy ship's targeting system struggle to maintain lock. A panel in the deck plates slid aside. Master Chief Walsh emerged, his weathered face streaked with hydraulic fluid. "Terra Prima's been at this for months," he reported, securing the access hatch. "Hidden power taps throughout the station. The Craxi are using them to maintain their dampening field." Marcus overlaid Walsh's infrastructure data onto his system schematic. "They're junction points where their modifications interface with primary power." He initiated a cascading surge through the compromised systems. The drone network's broadcast strength multiplied instantly. Alarms blared as reactor containment readings spiked into critical ranges. Marcus watched power levels fluctuate between Nina's armor and the failing reactor core. The choice crystallized: maintain her protection or prevent a catastrophic breach. "Charges," Walsh pointed to his scanner. "Terra Prima planted demolition devices in adjacent sections." "The waste reclamation system," Walsh continued, pulling up a maintenance diagram. "We can reach reactor control through the processing tubes. Terra Prima won't expect it." Marcus examined the caustic environment readings. Nina's armor needs modification for that atmosphere. He began reprogramming the remaining functional drones to create a protective corridor. The station shuddered as Craxi ships launched a final assault. Metal screamed as structural supports gave way. Warning indicators showed multiple breaches in the waste reclamation system's containment. "Pressure differential," Walsh shouted. "We've got minutes before those chemicals flood this entire deck." Marcus's tablet displayed cascading failures throughout the station's systems. He interfaced with the drone network, establishing a safe path through the deteriorating infrastructure. Power readings from Nina's hybrid armor remained stable, but the reactor core temperature continued to climb. "Doctor, monitor her vitals," Marcus instructed, connecting a bypass circuit to the nearest power junction. "Walsh, I need those maintenance overrides. We're going in." The waste reclamation access port cycled open, revealing a maze of processing tubes bathed in sickly green light. Marcus's modified drones moved into position, their fields creating a tunnel of breathable air through the toxic atmosphere. Behind them, the sounds of battle intensified as both enemy forces pressed their attack. Marcus checked the structural integrity readings one final time. The station's superstructure groaned under the strain of multiple hull breaches. Their window of opportunity narrowed with each passing second. He activated the drone corridor's containment field, knowing their next steps would determine not just their survival, but the future of human-Draconis relations. Marcus guided the team through the waste reclamation port, the modified drones projecting a protective corridor through clouds of toxic vapor. The sickly green atmosphere pressed against their shield barrier, testing the limits of his hasty modifications. Nina's armor readings fluctuated on his tablet. The caustic environment strained the hybrid systems beyond their design parameters. Marcus diverted additional power to the compromised sections, watching the energy reserves tick steadily downward. A figure emerged from the toxic haze ahead, weapon raised. "Hold position." Chief Engineer Powell's voice echoed through the processing tube. His environsuit bore scorch marks and chemical damage. "Powell," Walsh stepped forward. "We thought you were trapped in filtration control," Powell finished, lowering his weapon. "Terra Prima sabotaged the maintenance systems. The drones are compromised." Marcus connected his tablet to Powell's diagnostic unit. Data streamed across the display: maintenance logs, drone programming alterations, systematic failures that couldn't be accidental. They reprogrammed the entire network to malfunction. "Created a toxic buildup throughout critical systems," Powell confirmed. He transmitted his override codes to Marcus's tablet. Failsafe in case their primary plan failed. Nina's vital signs spiked. Marcus stabilized the power distribution as her armor adapted to the caustic atmosphere. Dr. Kane's scanner beeped rapidly. The integration is accelerating, Kane reported. Her natural armor plates are bonding with the hybrid systems. They found the abandoned Terra Prima command post in a maintenance junction. Commander Raxus examined scattered datapads while Powell accessed a damaged terminal. Marcus kept one eye on Nina's readings as he integrated Powell's codes into his drone network. Marcus. Kane's voice carried urgency. He held up a datapad displaying complex genetic sequences. These are Draconis genetic structures, prototype bioweapons targeting Nina's specific variants. Powell's terminal chimed. They weren't exploiting a weakness. These are countermeasures against enhanced human Draconis integration. The station shuddered. Warning klaxons blared through the processing tubes. Multiple detonations, Walsh reported. Craxy charges along the support structures. Toxic waste sprayed from ruptured pipes. Marcus's drones adjusted their barrier field, but the caustic materials ate through their projectors. He grabbed components from Powell's maintenance kit, fingers flying as he modified Nina's armor. The coolant reservoirs, Commander Raxus said, checking a systems diagram. Still intact, but we'll have to cross through the flooded sections. Marcus examined the compromised maintenance drones. Their malfunctioning systems could be repurposed. He rewrote their base programming, turning the sabotaged units into a mobile barrier against the spreading contamination. Sir, Walsh's diagnostic unit flashed warnings. Terra Prima virus in the computer core. It's erasing evidence and corrupting system backups. Marcus split his tablet display between Nina's armor controls and the spreading virus. Critical data vanished by the second Terra Prima's conspiracy, Nina's medical readings, irreplaceable research into their technological integration. Metal screamed. Cutting tools breached the hull as Craxy boarding pods latched onto the station's exterior. Nina's biosigns fluctuated again, but differently. The hybrid armor wasn't just protecting her, it was becoming part of her natural protection. Temperature variation ahead, Powell warned, indicating a shortcut through the thermal regulation systems, could affect the armor integration. Marcus calculated power requirements for another modification. The reactor warnings intensified. Toxic waste flooded adjacent chambers. The virus consumed more system backups. He examined his tablet, watching multiple crises converge into a singular engineering challenge. His fingers moved across the controls, balancing power distribution between Nina's evolving armor and the reprogrammed drone network. The modified maintenance units formed a barrier ahead, clearing a path through the caustic environment as indicators tracked the virus's spread through critical systems. Movement ahead, Santos's voice crackled through the comm channel. The security lieutenant emerged from a maintenance shaft, her tactical gear coated in coolant residue. Terra Prima operatives have established a command center in water purification. They're gathering data on Nina's genetic structure. Marcus interfaced his tablet with Santos's security feed. The surveillance network displayed Terra Prima technicians hunched over arrays of sensor equipment, compiling readings from throughout the station. A stealth ship lurked in the debris field outside, its communication arrays cycling through frequencies. The transmission's failing, Santos reported, indicating interference patterns on her display. Something's blocking their signal. Dr. Kane's medical scanner beeped. It's Nina's armor. The biomechanical frequencies are disrupting their broadcast attempts. A sudden tremor rocked the station. Powell's diagnostic unit flashed urgent warnings. Coolant systems been sabotaged. 3 junction points need manual repair. He highlighted the damage locations on Marcus's display. Areas are flooded with radiation and waste. Marcus analyzed the drone network's remaining power capacity. I can modify the containment fields. Create safe zones around the repair points. His fingers flew across the controls, reprogramming maintenance units to project localized environmental barriers. Nina's vital signs spiked again. Through the transparent sections of her armor, Marcus watched as the metallic components seemed to flow into her natural plating. The hybrid systems pulsed with energy as they merged with her biological protection. Unprecedented integration, Kane muttered, adjusting his scanner. The armor's becoming part of her natural defense system. A thunderous crack echoed through the chamber. Radioactive coolant burst from a ruptured pipe above them. Move! Marcus shouted, herding the team toward a maintenance shaft as caustic liquid flooded the compartment. Nina's newly integrated armor automatically adjusted, forming additional layers of protection against the hazardous environment. Commander Raxus accessed a thermal control panel. The exchange tubes lead directly to water purification. He displayed the route on Marcus's tablet. Temperature variations will be extreme. Marcus redirected power to the remaining drones, creating a protective corridor through the thermal tubes. Their energy reserves dropped precipitously as the units maintained a survivable pocket within the hostile environment. Multiple explosive devices detected, Walsh announced, his scanner sweeping the path ahead. Rigged to detonate if we interrupt their transmission attempts. Marcus split his tablet display between drone control and demolition schematics. He began modifying the network's programming, tasking units with both environmental protection and explosive ordnance handling. The complex calculations strained the system's processing capacity. "Sir," Hart's voice carried urgency. The Terra Prima Command Center there using modified Craxi defense systems. The technical specialist transmitted detailed scans to Marcus's display. Hybrid technology. Standard overrides won't work. Marcus studied Nina's evolving armor signature. The unique frequency patterns could potentially disrupt the merged defense systems, but utilizing that capability would place immense stress on her partially integrated protection. The reactor warnings intensified. More critical data vanished as Terra Prima's virus spread through the computer core. Nina's vital signs fluctuated as her armor reached another integration threshold. Marcus examined the converging problems, calculating power requirements and system tolerances. "Lieutenant," he addressed Santos, "coordinate with Walsh. Map all demolition device locations." His hands moved across the tablet, adjusting drone parameters. "Powell, Hart, prepare for simultaneous repairs at all 3 junction points. Dr. Kane, monitor Nina's integration levels. Commander Raxus, maintain our exit route." The team acknowledged their assignments as Marcus finalized the drone modifications. Ahead, the thermal exchange tubes stretched into darkness, their walls radiating waves of deadly heat and cold. Beyond them lay the water purification facility, where Terra Prima forces waited with their hybrid defenses and stolen data. Marcus checked Nina's armor readings one final time. The young Draconis's eyes met his, understanding passing between them without words. He activated the modified drone network, watching as the units moved into formation around them. The protection field stabilized, creating a path through the thermal extremes as they began their advance. Marcus accessed his engineering toolkit, extracting components from the damaged maintenance units scattered around them. His fingers moved with precision as he assembled a network of makeshift signal relays. "Nina's integration is accelerating beyond predicted parameters," Dr. Kane reported, adjusting his scanner. Through gaps in her armor plating, metallic components pulsed with biomechanical energy. Marcus connected the salvaged relays to his tablet, creating redundant channels between Nina's evolving armor and the drone network. The modified system activated, spreading enhanced protection fields around their group. A figure emerged from a maintenance shaft ahead. "Over here." The man wore a scorched engineering uniform, his face illuminated by emergency lighting. Engineering Specialist Reynolds. I've been monitoring Terra Prima's power usage from auxiliary control. Reynolds transmitted diagnostic data to Marcus's tablet. They're drawing massive power from tertiary backups. That's why standard shutdowns aren't working. Marcus studied the facility schematics Reynolds provided. These junction points we could isolate their command center. The station shuddered. Warning indicators flashed across Marcus's display as more demolition charges activated. He reprogrammed the drone network, creating 3 distinct operational layers. Outer units maintained their environmental barrier, while middle-layer drones moved to disarm explosive devices. The innermost drones generated interference patterns matching Nina's hybrid frequencies. Power reserves at 30%, Walsh warned. Nina's vital signs fluctuated as her armor produced new energy signatures. Marcus's tablet detected unusual interactions between the hybrid systems and nearby technology. He adjusted the drone network to amplify these effects, watching as localized disruptions appeared in Terra Prima's defense grid. The reactor. Chief Engineer Powell's voice carried urgency. His diagnostic unit displayed cascading failures throughout the containment system. Their virus has locked out emergency protocols. We need manual shutdown from the control room. Marcus examined the radiation readings. Even Nina's enhanced protection couldn't withstand those levels. He split the tactical display, analyzing multiple approach vectors. We need to divide our resources, Commander Raxus said, studying the situation. Hit multiple objectives simultaneously. Marcus nodded, reconfiguring the drone network. Dr. Kane and Nina with me will secure that research data. Commander, take Cooper and get to reactor control. Hart, Santos, preserve what evidence you can before that virus completes its deletion cycle. Sir. Walsh's scanner highlighted unstable patterns in Terra Prima's hybrid defenses. Their systems are showing calibration fluctuations. Marcus analyzed Nina's armor signature. The unique frequencies could trigger a cascade failure in Terra Prima's network, but the attempt would temporarily disrupt her environmental protection. Nina's armor pulsed again. Marcus's tablet lit up with streams of new code as the hybrid system began rewriting itself. The integration accelerated, adaptation protocols activating faster than his monitoring systems could track. Kane, what are you seeing? Marcus asked, studying the rapidly changing data. Unprecedented synthesis between biological and mechanical systems, Kane replied. The armor isn't just protecting her anymore, it's evolving with her. Marcus redistributed power through the signal relay network, stabilizing Nina's protection while channeling her unique frequencies through the drone grid. The innermost units adjusted their interference patterns, creating gaps in Terra Prima's defensive coverage. Reynolds, I need those power junction locations, Marcus said, fingers moving across his tablet. Santos, coordinate with Walsh on demolition disposal. Kane, monitor Nina's integration. We move in 30 seconds. The reprogrammed drones shifted into attack formation. Marcus watched power levels drop as the multi-layered defense grid activated. Through the toxic haze ahead, Terra Prima's command center waited. His modified systems hummed with energy, ready to execute their coordinated assault. Nina's eyes met his again. Her armor plating rippled with newly integrated technology, producing energy signatures that defied conventional analysis. Marcus adjusted the final drone parameters, knowing their next actions would push both human and hybrid systems beyond their designed limits. Marcus's tablet screen flared with urgent warnings as Nina's armor produced an unexpected energy spike. The hybrid system's output doubled, then tripled, generating interference patterns that rippled through nearby systems. Maintenance drones stuttered in their protective formations as Terra Prima's defense grid fluctuated wildly. Kane, readings. Marcus called out, his fingers racing across the tablet's controls. Integration accelerating beyond safe parameters, Kane responded, adjusting his medical scanner. The armor's generating feedback loops through the station's power grid. Emergency lighting flickered as Nina's armor pulses intensified. Through gaps in the plating, Marcus observed metallic components flowing like quicksilver, merging with her natural protection at an alarming rate. His tablet displayed cascading failures throughout the station's infrastructure. Powell to engineering team. The chief engineer's voice crackled through their damaged comm system. Reactor situation critical. Terra Prima's sabotage runs deeper than we thought. Manual shutdown requires synchronized access from multiple control stations. Marcus split his attention between Nina's readings and Powell's transmission. He initiated emergency protocols, selectively disabling key segments of Nina's armor. The young Draconis shuddered as systems went dark, leaving portions of her natural plating exposed to the hostile environment. A figure dropped from a damaged ventilation shaft above them. "Tors, station security," the man announced, brushing debris from his tactical gear. "Terra Prima's got a quantum storage unit in their command center. Contains complete specs on weaponizing Draconis genetics." He transmitted authentication codes to Marcus's tablet. "Built to survive station destruction. They're planning to recover it after the reactor breach." Marcus assessed their dwindling resources. The maintenance drone network displayed critical power warnings as he divided the units into specialized teams. One group diverted to assist Powell's reactor control efforts, while others maintained their protective corridor and probed Terra Prima's defenses. "Life support systems compromised," Walsh reported, his diagnostic unit highlighting new virus penetration. "They're forcing an evacuation scenario." Nina's partially disabled armor pulsed again. Marcus observed the energy patterns, noting dangerous similarities to the station's power signatures. The hybrid technology attempted to compensate for the disabled segments, pushing remaining systems toward overload. "Sir." Hart's voice carried urgency as data scrolled across their shared display. "Decrypted Terra Prima files indicate multiple research sites targeting Draconis children. This operation extends across sectors." The deck plates beneath them shuddered as artificial gravity began failing. Loose equipment drifted upward, while the maintenance drones struggled to maintain position. Marcus implemented emergency modifications to Nina's remaining armor systems, watching power levels approach critical thresholds. "Integration reaching unstable levels," Kane warned, his medical scanner tracking Nina's biological responses. The armor's attempting to bypass disabled segments. Marcus's tablet detected activation signals from Terra Prima's command center. Their defensive systems cycled through emergency protocols as demolition charges armed themselves throughout the surrounding compartments. Nina's eyes met his as her armor interfaced directly with nearby systems. The hybrid technology reached into the station's compromised infrastructure, establishing connections that defied conventional engineering principles. Marcus faced an immediate choice: maintain strict control over the armor's evolution, or allow the unprecedented integration to proceed. His fingers hovered over the tablet's controls as multiple crises converged. The reactor demanded immediate attention. Terra Prima prepared to destroy evidence of their broader conspiracy, and Nina's armor continued its transformation, offering both salvation and potential catastrophe. Through the caustic haze ahead, Terra Prima's command center beckoned. Marcus watched power levels fluctuate across his display as he prepared to make his decision. The young Draconis' survival, and perhaps the station's, depended on his next commands. Marcus released his grip on the tablet's controls, allowing Nina's hybrid systems to continue their integration. His fingers flew across the interface, implementing power restrictions to prevent catastrophic overload while documenting the unprecedented synthesis. "Containment fields at 15%, Kane reported as Nina's armor pulsed with new energy signatures. Integration patterns exceeding known parameters. The station's infrastructure responded to Nina's evolving systems. Maintenance panels flickered as her armor established direct connections with nearby systems. Marcus's tablet recorded streams of data, capturing the revolutionary merger of human and Draconis technology. A sealed maintenance hatch slid open, revealing Security Chief Harrison in tactical gear. Engineering level secure, he transmitted authentication codes to Marcus's system. I've got override access to remaining functional systems. Marcus integrated Harrison's codes into his control interface. Nina's armor can interface with these protocols. Warning indicators flashed across his display. Terra Prima's command center had begun emergency sequencing for both demolition charges and reactor breach. Powell, status. Marcus redirected power through the drone network, creating controlled overload patterns. Manual shutdown requires synchronized access. Powell's voice crackled through static. Multiple control stations. Nina's armor fluctuated as Marcus channeled power through her systems. The hybrid technology generated precise interference patterns, systematically disrupting Terra Prima's defensive grid. Warning lights pulsed as her integration levels approached critical thresholds. Structural breach in Section 7, Walsh reported. His diagnostic unit highlighted expanding damage patterns. Terra Prima's activated additional charges. Hart's fingers moved across his terminal. Sir, I've breached their outer security. The quantum storage device, it's not just weapons research. They've got coordinates, facility plans. They're targeting Draconis children across sectors. Marcus reprogrammed the drone network, creating specialized containment protocols. Kane, monitor Nina's emissions. We need precise control or their systems will trigger a data purge. Nina's armor produced an electromagnetic pulse that rippled through nearby systems. Emergency lighting stuttered as the station's infrastructure struggled to compensate. Marcus adjusted power levels, stabilizing her life support while maintaining the delicate balance needed for their advance. Multiple hull breaches detected, Santos called out. Structural integrity failing in sections 3 through 8. Marcus split their remaining drones into tactical groups. One set moved to assist Powell with reactor control, while others maintained protective fields around their team. The rest established a containment grid for the quantum storage device. Sir, Walsh's diagnostic unit highlighted an expanding network of demolition charges. They're sealing evacuation routes. Civilian sectors will be cut off. Nina's armor pulsed again, generating interference patterns that penetrated Terra Prima's security networks. Marcus monitored the emissions carefully, preventing system overload while allowing the hybrid technology to disrupt enemy defenses. Harrison, we need those evacuation routes cleared, Marcus commanded, redistributing power through their remaining systems. Hart, coordinate with Walsh. Map safe passages through their demolition grid. The station groaned as structural supports began failing. Marcus's tablet displayed cascading system failures spreading through multiple sections. Nina's armor responded to the deteriorating conditions, adapting its protection fields to compensate for the increasing environmental hazards. Reactor containment at critical levels, Powell transmitted. Manual shutdown sequence prepped at control stations Alpha and Gamma. Marcus directed maintenance drones to the control points while adjusting Nina's hybrid emissions. Her armor interfaced with nearby systems, creating paths through Terra Prima's defensive grid. The integration pushed their remaining power reserves to their limits. Data transmission detected, Hart reported. They're trying to upload research files to a stealth ship. Marcus channeled power through Nina's evolving armor, generating precise electromagnetic pulses that disrupted Terra Prima's communications. The young Draconis' system strained under the effort as Marcus maintained the delicate balance between effectiveness and overload. Warning klaxons blared as more demolition charges activated. The station's superstructure shuddered, creating expanding zones of mechanical failure. Marcus watched power levels fluctuate across his display while coordinating their remaining resources between multiple critical objectives. Nina's armor produced another energy pulse, stronger than previous emissions. The hybrid technology interfaced directly with the station's failing infrastructure, establishing connections that defied conventional engineering principles. Marcus adjusted power restrictions as her integration continued its unprecedented evolution, knowing their window of opportunity narrowed with each passing moment. The path to Terra Prima's command center lay ahead, partially obscured by emergency containment fields and spreading structural damage. Marcus coordinated their remaining drones into attack formation, while monitoring Nina's increasingly unstable armor systems. Through gaps in the caustic haze, their objective waited along with the quantum storage device that could expose Terra Prima's entire operation. Final approach vector plotted, Harrison transmitted. Emergency bulkheads engaged in sections 12 through 15. Marcus analyzed their tactical options as Nina's armor continued generating new energy signatures. The hybrid technology pushed against his imposed restrictions, seeking further integration with the station systems as Terra Prima's defenses adjusted to counter their advance. A new signal caught Marcus's attention movement in the ventilation system above. He redirected 2 drones for defensive positioning as a figure emerged from the damaged shaft. Engineering Specialist Morris, Nuclear Systems Division, the newcomer announced, clutching a data tablet. Authentication codes scrolled across Marcus's display as Morris transmitted his credentials. "I've got the original reactor schematics. Terra Prima's modifications are worse than we thought." Morris connected his tablet to Marcus's system, revealing complex alterations to the station's containment protocols. They've reconfigured the radiation shielding. A breach would generate a specialized pulse targeted at Draconis physiology. Nina's armor pulsed in response to the data feed. Marcus analyzed the emission patterns, noting how the hybrid technology adapted to counter the threat. He redistributed power through the drone network, using Nina's evolving systems as a template to generate protective interference fields. "Powell, status update on coolant systems," Marcus transmitted, fingers moving across his controls. "Catastrophic breakdown in progress." Powell's voice carried tension. "They've locked us out with some kind of hybrid encryption." Craxy algorithms mixed with human security protocols. Marcus studied Nina's integration patterns. The armor's connection to station systems offered a potential solution, but accessing it would strain her life support. He adjusted power distribution, preparing for the necessary modifications. "Sir." Hart's voice drew his attention to new data streams. "Terra Prima's quantum storage device, I've partially decrypted their files. They've collected genetic profiles of Draconis children with capabilities like Nina's, dozens of them." Walsh's diagnostic unit highlighted power fluctuations throughout the station, multiple signal amplifiers activating. "They're trying to broadcast research data off-station." Marcus reprogrammed the remaining drones, tracking transmission patterns to map Terra Prima's hidden network. Nina's armor generated another electromagnetic pulse, temporarily stabilizing several failing systems but triggering emergency lockdowns in adjacent sections. "Harrison, I need access to communication control systems," Marcus commanded, studying the evolving power signatures. Accessing emergency protocols now. Harrison transmitted additional override codes. "Found something. They've got a hidden command node in the primary array. That's how they're maintaining system control." Morris analyzed the reactor data, highlighting a section of code. "The auxiliary grid, some original safety protocols are still intact if we could bridge them with the compromised systems." Marcus observed Nina's armor as it interfaced with nearby infrastructure. The hybrid technology had evolved beyond its original parameters, offering capabilities that could potentially restore reactor containment. The attempt would expose her to dangerous electromagnetic levels. Kane, prepare for emergency medical intervention, Marcus ordered, implementing power adjustments. Nina, your armor can breach their encryption, but we'll need to reduce life support temporarily. Are you ready? Nina nodded, her eyes focused on the hazed corridor ahead. Marcus initiated the sequence, redirecting power through her integrated systems. The armor's emissions intensified, penetrating Terra Prima's defensive grid, while maintenance drones reinforced failing structural supports around them. Multiple breaches on decks 3 through 7, Walsh reported. Structural integrity failing. Marcus channeled emergency power through Nina's armor, using its evolving capabilities to stabilize critical framework sections. The hybrid technology spread through compromised areas, creating temporary reinforcement fields that prevented immediate collapse. Powell, prepare for containment restoration, Marcus transmitted, coordinating drone positions. Morris, feed reactor protocols directly through Nina's integrated systems. Hart, maintain encryption breach. We move on my mark. Nina's armor pulsed with unprecedented intensity as Marcus executed their assault plan. The drone network generated precise interference patterns, disrupting Terra Prima's modified controls while maintaining their protective corridor. Emergency lighting flickered as power reserves approached critical levels. Through gaps in the containment fields ahead, Terra Prima's command center waited. Marcus's tablet displayed cascading system failures as he coordinated their remaining resources. Nina's armor continued its evolution, offering their best chance at preventing both reactor breach and data transmission, while securing evidence of the terrorists' broader conspiracy. Walsh's diagnostic unit highlighted new power signatures as Marcus prepared the final approach. The station's infrastructure groaned under mounting stress, while Nina's hybrid systems reached deeper into its failing systems, pushing the boundaries of both human and Draconis technology. Marcus analyzed the fluctuating power signatures across his display, noting the unique patterns generated by Nina's armor. The hybrid technology had evolved beyond predicted parameters, offering capabilities that could bridge human and Draconis systems. Team, prepare for coordinated assault, Marcus transmitted, splitting the drone network into tactical layers. Powell, Nina's armor signature matches original reactor protocols. Initiate synchronized power transfer on my mark. The outer ring of drones positioned themselves along failing structural points, channeling reinforcement fields through Nina's integrated systems. Her armor pulsed, creating temporary supports that stabilized critical junctions. Movement in reactor control, Commander Raxus's voice cut through the comm channel. Contact identified William Drake, Station Security Chief. Drake transmitted authentication codes as he emerged from the sealed doorway. Colonel Stevens is coordinating with Craxi raiders. He traded Alliance encryption protocols for their support. That's why our standard countermeasures failed. Marcus redirected the middle drone layer, programming new interference patterns based on Nina's biomechanical frequencies. The drones generated precise disruption fields that penetrated Terra Prima's hybrid defenses. Sir, Powell's voice carried urgency. Stevens has activated scorched earth protocols. Station systems are being systematically purged. Nina's armor interfaced with nearby terminals, its emissions adapting to counter the destruction protocols. Marcus monitored her life support levels as the integration deepened. Craxi vessels detected, Walsh reported. Multiple breach attempts along the outer hull. Time to containment failure, 3 minutes. Technical specialist Hart connected directly to Nina's armor feed, her signatures stabilizing the quantum storage device. We can prevent data loss if a figure dropped from the maintenance shaft above Senior Engineering Officer Mills. He transmitted station schematics to Marcus's tablet. Terra Prima installed power siphons throughout the infrastructure. That's why we couldn't achieve shutdown. Marcus studied the diagrams, nodding the hidden power taps. He reprogrammed the drone network to implement systematic grid isolation, cutting off energy to Terra Prima's defensive systems. Morris, status on network security, Marcus transmitted while adjusting Nina's power distribution. Hybrid systems show periodic recalibration cycles, Morris responded. Windows of vulnerability every 4 to 3 seconds. Marcus salvaged components from damaged drones, upgrading their remaining units with enhanced penetration capabilities. Nina's armor pulsed as he synchronized their attack patterns with Terra Prima's security gaps. Warning, Walsh announced. Hull breach imminent in sections 20 through 23. Craxy boarding parties detected. Nina's armor generated another electromagnetic pulse, stronger than previous emissions. The hybrid technology spread through compromised systems, temporarily stabilizing critical sections while Marcus coordinated their advance. Powell, begin reactor containment sequence, Marcus ordered. Morris, Hart exploit their recalibration windows. We breach their command center in 30 seconds. The modified drones positioned themselves along their assault corridor, power reserves dropping to critical levels as they generated synchronized interference fields. Through Nina's enhanced systems, Marcus detected Terra Prima's defensive grid, adjusting to counter their approach. Multiple data purges in progress, Hart reported. Stevens is destroying evidence across all secured servers. Marcus channeled emergency power through Nina's evolving armor, pushing its capabilities to unprecedented levels. The young Draconis's vital signs fluctuated as her hybrid systems interfaced deeper with the station's infrastructure. Warning klaxons blared as the first Craxy breaching charges detonated against the outer hull. Marcus coordinated the drone network's protective fields while monitoring Nina's increasingly unstable integration patterns. Their window of opportunity narrowed with each passing second as multiple crisis points converged. Containment fields failing, Walsh transmitted. Structural collapse imminent in adjacent sections. Nina's armor adapted to the mounting system's strain, generating new interference patterns that penetrated Terra Prima's hybrid encryption. Marcus adjusted power flow through her integrated components, maintaining the delicate balance between effectiveness and overload as they approached the final security barrier. Marcus engaged the final assault protocols as Nina's armor synchronized with the depleted drone network. Each remaining unit positioned itself at calculated intervals, generating overlapping disruption fields that penetrated Terra Prima's layered defenses. Through gaps in the security barriers, he detected multiple heat signatures converging on their position. A sealed door panel slid open, revealing Lieutenant Commander Anderson in emergency tactical gear. Marcus Terra Prima's rigged the evac pods. He transmitted detailed schematics to the tactical display. They've installed specialized sensor arrays to collect data on Nina's genetic profile during their escape attempt. Marcus divided the drone network, dedicating 4 units to pod security while the others maintained their protective corridor. Nina's armor adjusted to the redistribution, compensating for the reduced coverage with intensified electromagnetic pulses. Reactor status critical, Powell transmitted. Stevens locked down the emergency shutdown behind biometric security. Can't initiate coolant protocols without his genetic profile. Marcus analyzed Nina's evolving system integration. Powell, prepare for remote override. We'll use Nina's hybrid interface to bypass the biometric locks. He salvaged power cells from damaged maintenance equipment, connecting them to Nina's armor through improvised coupling nodes. The young Draconis's vital signs fluctuated as her systems absorbed the additional power. Hull breach in progress, Hart reported. Craxi raiders targeting data storage sections. They're using advanced plasma cutting equipment. Marcus redirected power through structural support fields, watching as Nina's armor adapted to maintain stability in threatened areas. Warning indicators flashed across his display as energy reserves dropped below critical thresholds. Walsh's diagnostic unit highlighted new emission patterns. Multiple EMP generators activating throughout the station. Stevens is trying to disable our remaining systems. Marcus reprogrammed the drones, incorporating salvaged Craxi technology to generate localized protective fields around Nina's armor. The hybrid systems fluctuated, struggling to maintain cohesion as Terra Prima's electromagnetic assault intensified. Automated turrets emerged from concealed positions ahead, combining human and Craxi targeting systems. Their hybrid weapons tracked the team's movement with precision accuracy. Marcus analyzed the targeting patterns through Nina's enhanced sensors. Morris, status on power distribution, Marcus transmitted while adjusting drone positions. Grid synchronization in 15 seconds, Morris responded. Brief window for system override. Nina's armor pulsed, generating interference patterns that confused the turret's hybrid tracking systems. Marcus monitored her life support levels as the integration deepened, pushing further into Terra Prima's network architecture. Multiple contacts converging, Anderson warned, checking tactical readouts. Both terrorist forces and Craxi raiders adjusting their approach vectors. Marcus initiated systematic grid isolation through Nina's enhanced interface, cutting power to Terra Prima's defensive installations. The station's infrastructure groaned as competing systems fought for control. Warning klaxons blared as pressure differentials built up in adjacent sections. "Sir," Hart transmitted, detecting data packet compilation in command center servers. Stevens is preparing for transmission to their stealth ship. Nina's armor achieved unprecedented integration levels, spreading through the station's systems like digital tendrils. Marcus coordinated the remaining drones, positioning them to exploit gaps in Terra Prima's rapidly failing security grid. "Team, prepare for breach," Marcus ordered. "Anderson, coordinate pod security." "Powell, stand by for reactor override. Execute on my mark." The hybrid systems reached critical mass as Marcus initiated their final approach. Through Nina's enhanced interface, he detected Terra Prima's remaining defenses adjusting to counter their advance. The station's future hung in the balance as multiple crisis points converged on their position. A violent shudder rippled through the station. Warning indicators flashed across Marcus's display as Terra Prima's artificial gravity system failed. Team members grabbed nearby handholds while equipment drifted loose around them. "Compensating," Marcus transmitted, fingers flying across his interface. He redirected power through Nina's armor, activating magnetic field generators. The young Draconis's hybrid systems adapted instantly, creating localized attraction points that anchored their gear. The maintenance drones spread out in a calculated pattern, generating magnetic anchor fields at key structural points. Marcus observed through Nina's enhanced sensors as the network established a stable framework for tactical movement. "Life support failure detected," Anderson called out, his emergency protocols highlighting spreading red zones across the station schematic. Terra Prima's destroying backup modules systematically. Marcus directed Nina's armor to interface with a damaged life support unit. The hybrid technology spread through its circuitry, extracting vital power regulators. He integrated the components directly into her system matrix, extending their operational range. "Hart, status on oxygen distribution. Rerouting emergency supplies through secondary conduits," Hart responded, working at a floating terminal. 15 minutes of breathable atmosphere remaining in this section. Powell's voice cut through the comm channel. Sir, detected anomaly in command center power grid. Stevens modified their distribution network with Craxi Tech, shows instability at specific M frequencies. Marcus analyzed the data through Nina's sensors. He began reprogramming the drone network, using her armor's emission patterns as a template. The young Draconis's vital signs fluctuated as he reduced power to several protective systems. Multiple hull breaches. Harrison transmitted. Craxi boarding pods attaching to sections 5 through 8. Walsh's diagnostic unit highlighted specialized sensor arrays on the Raiders' vessels. They're scanning for Nina's genetic signature. Marcus directed the drones to generate overlapping interference fields, disrupting both Craxi sensors and Terra Prima's hybrid defenses. Nina's armor pulsed as it synchronized with the modified drone network. Warning indicators showed power reserves dropping to critical levels. Morris, check these readings, Marcus transmitted while salvaging energy cells from damaged station equipment. He connected them to Nina's life support systems through makeshift coupling arrays. Stevens is uploading data packets to transmission buffers, Morris reported. Multiple broadcast points detected throughout the station. Marcus modified Nina's electromagnetic emissions, targeting the data streams. Her hybrid systems intercepted the packets, corrupting them before transmission. The station's infrastructure groaned as competing technologies clashed. The team advanced toward command center access, only to halt at a sealed chamber. Radiation warnings flashed across their displays. Confirmed, Powell transmitted. They've created a containment barrier using damaged reactor components. Marcus redirected the remaining drones, establishing a protective radiation shield. Nina's armor adapted to supplement the barrier, but tactical options became severely limited. Her hybrid systems reached another evolution phase, generating powerful electromagnetic pulses. Nearby panels sparked as the emissions affected station systems unpredictably. Security barriers failed while life support consoles shorted out. Marcus fought to maintain precise control over the effects, monitoring Nina's increasingly unstable integration patterns. Sir, Powell transmitted urgently. The frequency matching if we tune Nina's emissions to their power distribution network, we could trigger cascade failure. But the feedback. Marcus studied the readings. The potential electromagnetic backlash could overwhelm Nina's protective systems. He analyzed power flow patterns, calculating precise modifications to her armor's emission matrix. Multiple crisis alerts competed for attention. Craxi raiders breaching new sections. Stevens preparing final data transmission. Reactor containment readings approaching critical thresholds. Through it all, Nina's hybrid technology continued evolving, pushing the boundaries of both human and Draconis engineering. Marcus initiated the frequency matching sequence, carefully adjusting power levels through Nina's integrated systems. Her armor pulsed with increasing intensity as it synchronized with Terra Prima's network architecture. Warning indicators flashed as electromagnetic feedback built up around her protective field. The drone network maintained their defensive corridor, while Nina's emissions penetrated deeper into Terra Prima's systems. Marcus monitored her vital signs, balancing power distribution between critical functions as they prepared for their final assault on the command center. Marcus initiated a rapid power redistribution through Nina's armor as electromagnetic feedback reached critical thresholds. The maintenance drones adjusted their positioning, creating overlapping disruption fields that penetrated Terra Prima's hybrid defenses. A panel in the corridor wall slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Security Systems Analyst Peter Blackwood emerged from the maintenance shaft, his tactical gear covered in coolant residue. Access codes for the modified grid, Blackwood transmitted, sending encrypted data packets to Marcus's interface. Stevens integrated salvaged Craxi tech into their command structure, created redundant control systems we hadn't detected. Marcus incorporated the new data into Nina's evolving armor matrix. Her hybrid systems processed the information, generating targeted interference patterns that affected both human and alien components simultaneously. Reactor coolant showing critical instability. Powell's voice crackled through the comm. Detecting cascade failure in primary circulation loops. Marcus observed the diagnostic readouts through Nina's enhanced sensors. Terra Prima's modifications had created dangerous feedback patterns in the cooling system. Temperature indicators spiked as damage spread through the reactor subsystems. He redirected power from the drone network's peripheral functions, strengthening Nina's radiation shielding. Her armor adapted instantly, creating dense electromagnetic barriers around vital components. Outer data security breached, Hart transmitted while working at a floating terminal. Stevens is prepping evac procedures. They've modified the escape pods with specialized sensor arrays. Marcus studied the technical readouts. The pods contained precise scanning equipment designed to analyze Nina's genetic structure during their retreat. He reprogrammed the remaining drones to generate interference fields around the pod bays, but the adjustment further drained their limited power reserves. Walsh's diagnostic unit highlighted expanding structural damage. Multiple hull breaches detected. Craxi cutting tools penetrating outer sections at grid coordinates 17A through 22D. Nina's armor pulsed as Marcus initiated emergency modifications. The hybrid systems extended their influence, maintaining atmospheric containment around critical junctions. Nearby panels flickered as her evolving technology interfaced with station infrastructure. "Sir," Morris transmitted, identified vulnerability in their power grid. Their hybrid systems require constant frequency synchronization with modified Craxi equipment. Marcus salvaged components from damaged consoles, integrating them into the drone network. The units spread out in calculated patterns, generating precise electromagnetic pulses that disrupted Terra Prima's defensive positions. Warning indicators flashed as the added strain affected Nina's stabilization matrix. A series of localized power surges rippled through the command center approach. Marcus detected multiple EMP generators activating, their frequencies calibrated specifically to target Nina's hybrid systems. Adjusting emission patterns, Marcus transmitted, fingers moving across his interface as he modified Nina's armor configuration. The young Draconis's vital signs fluctuated while her protective field adapted to the changing electromagnetic landscape. Harrison's tactical display highlighted new security protocols. Multiple data storage nodes detected throughout the station. Stevens distributed their research data across redundant backup systems. Marcus coordinated with the team's secondary units, marking priority targets for systematic disable. Nina's armor achieved deeper integration with nearby systems, demonstrating unprecedented control over station infrastructure. Warning klaxons blared as Stevens initiated emergency protocols. Critical systems began shutting down in sequence as Terra Prima executed their final contingency measures. Power spike detected in command center, Powell transmitted. They're preparing to purge their database and destroy station systems. Nina's hybrid technology spread through the surrounding architecture, countering Terra Prima's attempts to maintain control. Marcus carefully regulated the integration process, balancing system stability against tactical necessity as they approached their final objective. The station's infrastructure groaned as competing technologies clashed for dominance. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus detected multiple heat signatures converging on their position as Terra Prima's remaining forces prepared for their last stand. The rhythmic thud of boots against metal decking drew Marcus's attention. Military engineering specialist Andrew Peterson emerged from a damaged maintenance shaft, his tactical gear coated in coolant residue and scorch marks. Command Center Layout, Peterson transmitted, connecting his diagnostic unit to Marcus's interface. Stevens constructed a reinforced chamber using salvaged Craxi shield generators, primary control stations inside. Marcus integrated the schematics through Nina's enhanced sensors. The young Draconis's armor pulsed as it processed the new data, spreading crystalline patterns across nearby surfaces. Station systems responded to her evolving interface capabilities, displays flickering to life with access to local control networks. Power regulation cycle detected, Powell transmitted. Stevens' shield modifications require constant adjustment. Creates a vulnerability window every 47 seconds. Marcus reprogrammed the maintenance drones, synchronizing their electromagnetic emissions with Nina's armor signature. The units spread out in precise formations, generating interference patterns calibrated to exploit the terrorists' hybrid defenses. Warning indicators flashed across his display as new heat signatures appeared on external sensors. Through Nina's enhanced interface, Marcus detected specialized cutting equipment activating along the station's outer hull. Craxi breaching pods targeting structural weak points, Walsh reported, his diagnostic unit highlighting compromised sections. They're exploiting damage from earlier sabotage. Marcus redirected power through Nina's evolved systems, extending her electromagnetic field to reinforce critical support structures. Her armor adapted instantly, creating localized containment barriers around threatened junctions. Internal network breached, Hart transmitted from his floating terminal. Stevens initiated emergency purge protocols. Located demolition charges at key intersections. Nina's hybrid technology spread deeper into station infrastructure as Marcus established direct control over nearby systems. Life support stabilized in their immediate vicinity while power drained from non-essential areas. Her armor pulsed with increasing intensity as it achieved unprecedented levels of integration. "Sir," Morris called out, "Nina's signature, we can use it to generate targeted interference. Disrupt both human and Craxi tech simultaneously." Marcus modified her emission patterns, carefully balancing power distribution as her systems evolved. The maintenance drones adjusted their positioning, creating overlapping disruption fields that penetrated Terra Prima's hybrid defenses. A violent shudder rippled through the station. Warning klaxons blared as reactor readings spiked dangerously. "Coolant circulation compromised," Powell transmitted urgently. "Detecting deliberate miscalibration in primary loops. Cascade failure imminent." Marcus directed Nina's armor to interface with the reactor's original safety protocols. Her hybrid system spread through the cooling network, fighting to restore proper containment procedures. Warning indicators flashed as radiation levels climbed. The team halted at a series of barriers ahead, their sensors detecting dangerous radiation signatures. Marcus observed Terra Prima's modifications through Nina's enhanced interface deliberately damaged reactor components, positioned to create impassable zones. Adjusting drone configuration, Marcus transmitted, redistributing power to generate protective corridors. The units spread out in calculated patterns, establishing radiation shields that rapidly depleted their remaining energy reserves. Harrison's tactical display highlighted multiple security measures activating around the command center. Stevens implementing hybrid defenses, detecting both human and Craxi technology. Nina's armor pulsed as it achieved deeper integration with station systems. Marcus carefully regulated the evolution of her hybrid technology, balancing tactical necessity against increasing environmental hazards. Nearby panels sparked as her emissions affected Terra Prima's control networks. Through her enhanced sensors, Marcus detected Stevens' forces establishing defensive positions ahead. The terrorist leader's emergency protocols accelerated, threatening to destroy vital evidence along with critical station infrastructure. Marcus coordinated the team's advance, preparing to exploit the brief windows of vulnerability in Terra Prima's evolving defenses. The station groaned as competing technologies clashed for dominance. Warning indicators multiplied across Marcus's display, as Nina's unprecedented system integration pushed both human and alien engineering beyond their designed limits. The structural groaning intensified as Marcus detected movement in a nearby maintenance tunnel. Military systems analyst John Parker emerged, his tactical gear reflecting the pulsing light from Nina's armor. Stevens modified the command center's defensive grid, Parker transmitted, connecting his diagnostic unit to Marcus's interface. Three-layer system Craxi shields interwoven with military-grade electromagnetic barriers. Nina's armor crystalline patterns shifted, spreading across nearby surfaces as her systems processed the new data. The hybrid technology pulsed, generating interference patterns that affected both human and alien components simultaneously. Detecting breakthrough in Nina's armor evolution, Morris announced, his diagnostic unit highlighting new energy signatures. She's actively countering both defensive technologies. Marcus redirected power from damaged station segments through the drone network. The units spread in precise formations, generating coordinated electromagnetic pulses that systematically disabled Terra Prima's outer defensive rings. Critical update, Powell transmitted. His diagnostic readouts highlighted dangerous patterns in the reactor subsystems. Stevens' modifications created resonance instability, coolant circulation approaching critical failure threshold. Marcus initiated emergency modifications to Nina's interface protocols. Her armor extended crystalline tendrils into nearby cooling junctions, fighting to restore proper circulation patterns. Power reserves dropped rapidly as her systems maintained both defensive and repair functions. Multiple demolition charges detected, Walsh reported, his sensors highlighting new energy signatures throughout the station infrastructure. Stevens is implementing scorched earth protocols. Marcus redirected several drones toward the explosive devices. Nina's evolved armor signature transmitted precise interference patterns, disrupting the charge's detonation frequencies while maintenance units worked to disarm them. Breached their quantum encryption, Hart transmitted from his floating terminal. System requires Nina's genetic markers for access, explains their capture attempts. The remaining functional drones repositioned under Marcus's command, generating containment fields calibrated to safely collect genetic samples without compromising Nina's protection. Her armor adapted instantly, creating secure channels for controlled marker transmission. Multiple hull breach warnings flashed across Marcus's display as Craxi raiders cut through external plating. Their advanced sensor arrays probed Nina's defenses, attempting to penetrate her radiation shielding. Adjusting emission patterns, Morris called out. Craxi equipment penetrating standard protection protocols. Marcus implemented constant modifications to Nina's protective field, preventing sensor penetration while maintaining critical functions. Her armor responded instantly to each adjustment, evolving new defensive configurations. Stevens prepping escape routes, Harrison transmitted. Modified pods detected with stealth capabilities. Multiple data transmission signatures. Nina's hybrid systems generated precise interference patterns, disrupting Terra Prima's attempted data broadcasts. Power reserves continued dropping as her armor maintained multiple simultaneous functions. The team advanced through maintenance sections, converted to radiation traps. Damaged reactor components created deadly energy fields, forcing Marcus to carefully regulate drone positioning. The units established safe corridors through contaminated zones while supporting Nina's evolving capabilities. Her armor achieved unprecedented integration levels, directly interfacing with both station systems and modified Craxi technology. Marcus maintained precise control over her rapidly expanding capabilities, balancing power distribution as they approached the command center's inner defenses. Identified defensive weakness, Powell transmitted. Their hybrid shields require constant regulation. Creates a 47-second vulnerability window during each adjustment cycle. Marcus coordinated final assault preparation through Nina's enhanced interface. The maintenance drones spread in calculated patterns while her armor gathered power for their synchronized strike. Warning indicators flashed as multiple systems reached critical thresholds. Through Nina's sensors, Marcus detected Terra Prima's remaining forces, establishing reinforced positions around the command center entrance. The terrorists' hybrid defenses pulsed with increasing intensity, generations before them about to clash in one final confrontation. Marcus initiated the synchronized assault sequence through Nina's enhanced interface. The maintenance drones, their power cells nearly depleted, positioned themselves at calculated intervals around the command center's outer perimeter. A figure emerged from a sealed maintenance junction, movements precise despite visible damage to his tactical gear. Combat Systems engineer David Lawrence connected his diagnostic unit to Marcus's interface, transmission indicators flashing. Stevens modified the defense grid, Lawrence transmitted. Hybrid turrets Craxi targeting linked to Alliance weapon platforms. Coverage pattern leaves no direct approach vector. Marcus analyzed the data through Nina's sensors. The turret's hybrid signatures pulsed with dangerous intensity, their targeting systems actively scanning for breaches in the defensive perimeter. He redirected power through the drone network, programming precise electromagnetic pulses calibrated to Nina's evolving armor frequency. Reactor containment failing. Powell's urgent transmission cut through the tactical channel. Coolant pressure exceeding safety threshold in sections 7 through 12. His diagnostic readouts highlighted critical systems pushed far beyond design specifications. Nina's armor spread crystalline tendrils through nearby power conduits, attempting to bypass Stevens' hybrid encryption. Warning indicators flashed across Marcus's display as her systems struggled to maintain multiple simultaneous functions. Impact tremors shuddered through the station's hull. Craxi boarding pods detected, Walsh transmitted. Advanced cutting equipment breaching external plating at junctions 14, 23, and 37. Marcus diverted additional power to Nina's structural reinforcement protocols. Her armor adapted instantly, generating localized containment fields around threatened sections while maintaining critical defensive capabilities. Data transfer detected, Hart announced from his floating terminal. Stevens implementing distributed backup protocol, multiple storage devices active within command center perimeter. The maintenance drones adjusted their positioning under Marcus's direction, establishing a containment field calibrated to block data transmission frequencies. Nina's armor pulsed as it compensated for increased radiation exposure, protection protocols evolving to meet mounting environmental hazards. Power distribution network identified, Morris transmitted, his diagnostic unit highlighting a complex web of modified Craxi technology. Stevens established redundant nodes throughout the command center, standard disruption protocols ineffective. Marcus targeted the nodes through Nina's enhanced interface, carefully regulating power consumption as her systems generated precise interference patterns. Nearby panels sparked as competing technologies clashed for dominance. Multiple demolition signatures detected, Harrison reported. Charges placed at primary support junctions, timer protocols active. Marcus redirected 3 drones toward the nearest explosive devices, salvaging components from damaged units to boost their effectiveness. Nina's armor extended additional crystalline tendrils through station infrastructure, fighting to maintain structural integrity as systems approached critical thresholds. The command center's hybrid defenses pulsed with increasing intensity. Through Nina's evolved sensors, Marcus detected Stephen's emergency protocols accelerating. Power surged through modified conduits as the terrorist leader attempted to transmit research data through hidden channels. Nina's armor achieved unprecedented integration levels, directly interfacing with both station systems and Craxi technology. Marcus carefully monitored her status indicators as crystalline patterns spread across nearby surfaces, balancing tactical necessity against mounting system strain. The maintenance drones moved into final assault positions, their remaining power reserves dedicated to maintaining the disruption field. Marcus initiated Nina's breach sequence, timing their advance to exploit the brief vulnerability window in Stephen's hybrid shields. Warning klaxons blared as reactor containment readings spiked dangerously. Nina's armor pulsed with increasing intensity, fighting to prevent catastrophic system failure while maintaining essential defensive capabilities. The command center's outer barriers flickered as Marcus synchronized their attack with the shield regulation cycle. Through Nina's enhanced interface, Marcus detected Terra Prima forces adjusting their defensive positions. Stephen's hybrid turrets tracked their movement, targeting systems attempting to compensate for the electromagnetic interference. The station groaned as competing technologies pushed its infrastructure to the breaking point. Initiating breach sequence, Marcus transmitted as Nina's armor gathered power for their coordinated strike. The young Draconis' systems evolved rapidly, achieving integration levels that transcended both human and Craxi engineering limitations. Warning indicators multiplied across Marcus's display as they prepared to breach Terra Prima's inner sanctum. The maintenance drone's disruption field intensified, creating precise interference patterns calibrated to Nina's unique signature. Marcus monitored multiple critical systems simultaneously, carefully balancing power distribution as they positioned themselves for the final assault. The command center's hybrid defenses pulsed with dangerous intensity, generations of competing technology clashing as they prepared to strike. Marcus synchronized the final assault sequence with Nina's evolved armor resonance. The maintenance drones pulsed in precise coordination, their electromagnetic fields converging on Terra Prima's inner barriers. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, he detected the shield matrix cycling through its regulation sequence. Breach window confirmed, Powell transmitted. 4 to 7 seconds until next shield stabilization cycle. Nina's crystalline patterns spread across the corridor surfaces, interfacing directly with nearby power conduits. The hybrid technology adapted instantly, generating interference waves that disrupted both human and Craxi defensive systems. A figure stumbled from a maintenance junction ahead, arms raised. Research Director Sarah Powell's lab coat showed signs of recent plasma scoring. "Don't shoot," she called out, diagnostic unit displaying surrendered protocols. "I have the inner security codes." Stevens has gone too far. Marcus maintained defensive positioning while Morris scanned her for hidden weapons or explosive devices. Her diagnostic readouts confirmed her identity as she transmitted the access data through secured channels. Warning klaxons intensified. Primary containment failing. Chief Engineer Powell's voice cut through the tactical channel. Radiation levels rising in sectors 3 through 7. Nina's armor extended new crystalline configurations into nearby cooling junctions. Marcus redirected power from damaged station segments through her interface, establishing emergency control over reactor subsystems. The young Draconis' protection field pulsed with increasing strain as it maintained multiple critical functions. Quantum storage breach achieved, Hart announced from his floating terminal. Detecting hybrid encryption combined Alliance military and Craxi security protocols. The remaining functional drones repositioned under Marcus's command, processing nodes glowing as they began systematic decryption. Nina's unique signature provided the key to bypassing the layered security measures, her armor adapting to interpret the encoded data streams. Hull breach expanding in Section 29, Walsh transmitted. Craxi cutting equipment penetrating structural supports. Marcus implemented emergency modifications to Nina's protective field. Her armor spread reinforcing tendrils through threatened bulkheads, fighting to maintain station integrity while continuing their advance. Power reserves dropped dangerously as her systems compensated for mounting structural strain. Located power distribution network, Morris called out. His diagnostic unit highlighted a web of salvaged Craxi technology. Multiple redundant nodes maintaining inner defenses. Marcus targeted the nearest node through Nina's interface. The maintenance drones salvaged components from damaged units, generating precise interference patterns calibrated to her evolved frequency. Nearby panels sparked as competing technologies clashed. The corridor ahead blazed with weapons fire as they encountered Stevens' automated defenses. Hybrid turrets tracked their movement with lethal precision, combining Alliance targeting systems with Craxi energy weapons. Modifying emission patterns, Marcus transmitted, adjusting Nina's armor frequency. Her protective field shifted through rapid configurations, generating interference waves that disrupted the turret's targeting systems. Emergency protocols detected, Harrison announced. Terra Prima activating specialized EMP generators. Marcus implemented constant adjustments to Nina's power distribution, shifting frequencies faster than the pulse generators could lock on. Her armor achieved unprecedented integration levels, actively countering both terrorist defenses and Craxi raiders simultaneously. The command center's inner barriers pulsed ahead as Stevens' emergency protocols accelerated. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus detected data streams attempting to purge evidence of their weapons research. The young Draconis' systems strained to maintain critical functions as they prepared for their final push into the terrorist leader's sanctum. Warning indicators multiplied across Marcus's display as nearby reactor substations approached critical thresholds. Nina's evolved armor fought to prevent catastrophic failure while maintaining their advance. The maintenance drones spread in precise formations, generating synchronized electromagnetic pulses calibrated to breach Terra Prima's inner sanctum. Behind the command center's reinforced barriers, Colonel Stevens' remaining forces established their final defensive positions. Marcus monitored Nina's armor stability through their enhanced interface as the team prepared to confront the terrorist leader. The station groaned under mounting system strain as competing technologies pushed its infrastructure to the breaking point. Initiating breach sequence, Marcus transmitted. The maintenance drone's disruption field intensified, creating precise interference patterns matched to Nina's unique signature. Her armor gathered power for their coordinated strike, crystalline patterns pulsing with dangerous intensity as they prepared to breach Stevens' inner sanctum. The maintenance drones aligned their disruption fields as Marcus initiated the breach sequence. Nina's crystalline armor configurations pulsed in perfect synchronization, creating cascading interference patterns that systematically targeted Terra Prima's defensive layers. A figure emerged through the dissipating energy field Chief Medical Officer Thomas Reed, his medical insignia partially melted from weapons fire. Blood trickled from a gash above his left eye. Stevens forced me to oversee the genetic trials, Reed transmitted through secured channels, hands raised. I can provide biometric override access to his personal security grid. Morris's scan confirmed Reed's identity as the doctor transmitted authentication codes through their encrypted link. Nina's armor interfaced directly with the medical officer's diagnostic unit, verifying the override protocols. Reactor cooling stabilized in sections 3 and 4, Powell reported. But Stevens has triggered an overload cascade in the main power distribution network. Marcus redirected 3 maintenance drones to begin emergency isolation procedures. Their salvaged components glowed as they established new power routing protocols through Nina's evolved interface. Her armor spread crystalline tendrils through nearby conduits, fighting to maintain stable energy flow as systems approached critical thresholds. Detecting new shield matrix, Walsh transmitted. Advanced Craxi generators combined with military-grade electromagnetic barriers. Nina's armor shifted through rapid configurations, generating precise interference waves calibrated to the hybrid defenses. Warning indicators flashed as power reserves dropped sharply. Marcus carefully monitored her status while maintaining their protective corridor through increasingly unstable sections. Quantum storage decryption complete, Hart announced. Multiple data transmissions detected Stevens attempting to upload research files through hidden receivers. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus detected the compressed data packets streaming outward. Her armor instantly adapted, generating corruption protocols that systematically scrambled the transmissions before they could reach their destinations. Explosive devices located, Morris transmitted. His diagnostic unit highlighted specialized demolition charges integrated into critical support structures. Charges designed for targeted structural collapse. Marcus modified the remaining drone's disruption fields, calibrating them to safely neutralize the devices while maintaining their defensive perimeter. Nina's evolved armor compensated automatically, preserving critical shielding as they advanced through hazard zones. Additional impact tremors shuddered through the hull as Craxi breaching pods activated their cutting equipment. Nina's protection field expanded, crystalline patterns flowing across threatened sections to prevent hull breach. The maintenance drones repositioned, salvaging debris to create temporary barriers against the raiders' advance. Inner chamber located, Harrison transmitted. Stevens maintaining control through modified Craxi interface. Multiple redundant systems active. Research Director Powell's access codes enabled Marcus to begin systematically disabling Terra Prima's weapons research nodes. Nina's armor achieved unprecedented integration levels, preserving crucial data while preventing the terrorists from triggering emergency purge protocols. The command center's final barriers pulsed ahead as Stevens' hybrid defenses reached maximum intensity. Through their enhanced interface, Marcus detected the terrorist leaders' desperate attempts to maintain control over critical systems. Nina's evolved armor continued adapting, balancing multiple priority functions as they prepared to breach the inner sanctum. Warning klaxons blared as environmental hazards increased throughout the station. The young Draconis' protection field strained to maintain stability while countering both terrorist defenses and structural damage. Marcus carefully monitored her status indicators, noting dangerous power fluctuations as they positioned themselves for the final assault. The maintenance drones spread into breach formation, their salvaged components barely maintaining cohesion under mounting system strain. Nina's armor gathered energy for their coordinated strike, crystalline patterns pulsing with increasing intensity as they prepared to confront the terrorist leader in his fortified command post. The maintenance drones initiated their synchronized breach sequence, electromagnetic pulses cascading through the command center's defensive matrix. Nina's crystalline configurations adapted instantly, matching their resonance frequencies to create precise disruption patterns. A flash of azure energy marked the collapse of the inner barriers. Through the dissipating field, Senior Weapons Officer Michael Torres stumbled forward, caught between malfunctioning security gates as they sparked and cycled erratically. Barrier override codes transmitting, Torres called out, his diagnostic unit glowing as authentication protocols streamed through their secured channel. Stevens activated nanoscale disruptors. They're calibrated to target hybrid systems. Marcus detected the microscopic threats through Nina's enhanced sensors, redirecting power through salvaged circuitry as her armor shifted to counter the new attack vector. The maintenance drones adapted their fields, creating a protective corridor through increasingly unstable sections. Primary cooling stabilized, Powell transmitted. Nina's interface maintaining critical temperature thresholds. The young Draconis's armor spread through adjacent corridors, crystalline patterns flowing across damaged bulkheads. Warning indicators flashed as Craxi cutting equipment breached the outer hull in multiple sections. Nina's protection field expanded automatically, reinforcing threatened areas while preserving essential functions. Quantum storage secured, Hart announced from his floating terminal. Implementing direct access protocols. Stevens attempting data purge. Through their enhanced interface, Marcus detected compressed research files streaming toward hidden receivers. Nina's evolved systems generated corruption algorithms instantly, scrambling the sensitive data before it could reach its destinations. Morris's diagnostic unit highlighted critical nodes in the terrorist leader's remaining power network. Located primary distribution hub. Multiple redundant systems active. The maintenance drones repositioned under Marcus's command, systematically disabling Stevens' control over station infrastructure. Nina's armor achieved unprecedented integration levels, preserving vital systems while preventing cascade failures throughout the network. Hull breach in Section 4-2, Walsh transmitted. Craxi deploying advanced cutting equipment. Marcus diverted power through Nina's secondary circuits, her protection field adapting to reinforce compromised structural supports. The maintenance drones salvaged components from damaged units, establishing temporary barriers against the raiders' advance. Stevens detected in shielded command pod, Harrison announced. Emergency protocols indicate evacuation preparations. Research Director Powell's access codes revealed Terra Prima's complete weapons database. Marcus's display filled with schematics for biological agents, specifically engineered to target Draconis physiology. Nina's armor interfaces activated automatically, corrupting the dangerous research data while preserving evidence of the broader conspiracy. The maintenance drones spread into containment formation as Stevens' pod activated additional defensive measures. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus detected power surges throughout the remaining infrastructure as the terrorist leader triggered emergency protocols designed to destroy final evidence of their operations. Multiple hull breaches expanding, Walsh transmitted. Craxi reinforcements detected at sections 12, 17, and 23. Nina's hybrid systems strained to maintain structural integrity while powering their advance. The maintenance drones established synchronized interference patterns, their salvaged components barely maintaining cohesion under mounting system stress. Pod shielding at maximum intensity, Harrison reported, detecting specialized containment protocols. Marcus implemented final modifications to Nina's evolved armor as they positioned themselves outside Stevens' command pod. Her crystalline configurations pulsed with dangerous energy while maintaining precise control over critical station systems. The maintenance drones aligned their disruption fields, preparing for the final breach into the terrorist leader's sanctuary. Marcus activated the final breach sequence as Nina's crystalline armor configurations achieved peak resonance. The maintenance drones synchronized their electromagnetic pulses, creating precise interference patterns that targeted the pod's shield matrix. Through their enhanced interface, Marcus detected the shield's weakening as carefully calibrated energy waves disrupted their power distribution. A figure stumbled through the flickering barrier field systems integration specialist Robert Morrison, his diagnostic unit sparking from overload damage. Stevens has lost control, Morrison transmitted through secured channels. He's forcing emergency purge protocols through redundant command pathways. Morrison's authentication code streamed through their encrypted link as Nina's armor interfaced with his diagnostic systems. The young Draconis's evolved protection field expanded, crystalline patterns flowing through nearby conduits while verifying the override access. Reactor containment holding, Powell transmitted. But atmospheric controls are failing Stevens' triggered station-wide venting sequences. Marcus redirected power through the maintenance drone network, establishing temporary atmospheric barriers using salvaged components. Nina's hybrid systems achieved unprecedented integration levels, allowing direct control over remaining infrastructure while systematically isolating Stevens' command protocols. Azure energy cascaded across the hull as Craxi cutting equipment breached multiple outer sections. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus detected the raiders deploying specialized tools designed to compromise structural integrity. Her armor adapted instantly, generating localized force fields that prevented critical failures while maintaining their protective corridor. Quantum storage neutralized, Hart announced from his floating terminal. Located complete weapons research database biological agents, specifically engineered for Draconis targets. Additional files document genetic trials performed on refugee subjects. Nina's evolved interface activated emergency containment protocols, preserving crucial evidence while preventing data destruction. Her armor spread through adjacent systems, countering Stevens' attempts to purge incriminating research files. Warning indicators flashed as modified Craxi power cells activated throughout the command center. Morris's diagnostic unit highlighted the electromagnetic pulse network integrated into critical junctions, detecting coordinated EMP triggers designed to disable both standard and hybrid systems. Marcus implemented rapid power redistribution through Nina's secondary circuits. Her protection field adapted automatically, maintaining essential functions while systematically disabling the failsafe devices. The maintenance drones established synchronized interference patterns that prevented pulse propagation through vital infrastructure. Escape pod preparing for launch, Harrison transmitted. Stevens attempting final data upload through concealed channels. Nina's hybrid systems generated precise corruption algorithms, scrambling the compressed research files before they could reach their destinations. Her armor achieved direct integration with the station's remaining functional networks, providing unprecedented control over critical systems. The maintenance drones spread into final assault formation as Stevens' pod activated additional countermeasures. Through their enhanced interface, Marcus detected power surges throughout the remaining infrastructure as the terrorist leader triggered desperate defensive protocols. Impact tremors shuddered through the hull as Craxi breaching pods activated at strategic positions. Nina's protection field expanded automatically, crystalline patterns flowing across threatened sections while preserving essential functions. The maintenance drones salvaged components from damaged units, creating temporary barriers against the raiders' advance. Multiple hull breaches expanding, Walsh reported. Craxi deploying advanced penetration equipment at sections 27 through 32. Marcus divided remaining power reserves between structural reinforcement and Nina's evolved capabilities. Her armor interfaces adapted constantly, countering both Terra Prima's hybrid defenses and the Raiders' cutting technology while preventing cascade failures throughout critical systems. The command pod's barriers pulsed with dangerous intensity as Stevens activated his final defensive measures. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus detected the terrorist leader's increasingly erratic attempts to maintain control over remaining infrastructure. The maintenance drones aligned their disruption fields, preparing for the ultimate breach into Stevens' fortified position. Marcus initiated the final breach sequence, channeling power through Nina's evolved crystalline matrices. The maintenance drones moved in perfect synchronization, their electromagnetic pulses creating precise interference patterns that penetrated the pod's outer defenses while preventing dangerous feedback to the station's already unstable reactor core. Azure energy cascaded through the first security barrier as security systems engineer Kevin Barnes emerged from a damaged control junction, his diagnostic unit streaming authentication protocols. Stevens installed quantum-linked defensive measures. Barnes transmitted through their secured channel. I can provide override access to the automated grid. Nina's armor interfaces integrated Barnes' security codes instantly, bypassing successive layers of the pod's protection systems. The former Alliance specialist's expertise proved invaluable as Marcus implemented systematic shutdown procedures through the young Draconis' enhanced capabilities. Emergency alert, Powell's voice cut through their tactical network. Detecting quantum destabilization field molecular-level interference targeting Nina's hybrid systems. Marcus redirected power through salvaged maintenance circuits, creating redundant protection layers that maintain the Draconis' core functions. Nina's crystalline configurations adapted automatically, generating controlled resistance patterns that preserved essential life support while negating the destabilization effect. Impact tremors intensified as Craxi-cutting equipment breached additional hull sections. Hostile sensor arrays detected, Walsh transmitted. Advanced radiation penetration capabilities confirmed. Nina's evolved armor shifted frequency, producing carefully calibrated interference that blocked the Raiders' scanning attempts. Her protection field expanded through compromised structural points, crystalline patterns flowing across damaged bulkheads to reinforce critical junctions. Data breach successful, Hart announced from his floating terminal. Stevens initiating complete system purge. Located mass production schematics military applications of Nina's hybrid technology. Through their enhanced interface, Marcus secured the exposed research files while systematically disabling demolition charges throughout the station. Nina's armor spread through adjacent networks, preventing data destruction while preserving evidence of Terra Prima's weapons program. Power regulation anomaly detected, Morris transmitted as his diagnostic unit highlighted specific nodes in Stevens' defensive grid. Modified Craxi systems showing critical instability. Marcus coordinated precise strikes through the maintenance drone network, targeting power distribution points to create controlled feedback loops. Nina's hybrid capabilities allowed exact calibration of the disruption effect, systematically disabling Stevens' remaining protective measures. Warning indicators flashed as multiple hull breaches expanded beyond containment. The maintenance drones salvaged components from damaged units, establishing temporary barriers while Marcus divided diminishing power reserves between structural reinforcement and Nina's essential systems. Her armor achieved unprecedented integration with the station infrastructure, actively countering both terrorist defenses and Craxi technology. The crystalline patterns pulsed with controlled energy as Marcus carefully managed power distribution to prevent cascade failures. EMP generators activating, Harrison transmitted. Stevens triggering station-wide atmospheric vents. Marcus implemented rapid adjustments to Nina's armor configuration, creating controlled environmental barriers throughout critical sections. Her protection field adapted instantly, maintaining pressure stability while neutralizing the electromagnetic pulse threat. The maintenance drones aligned in final assault formation outside Stevens' inner sanctum. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus detected the terrorist leader's increasingly erratic attempts to maintain control. Her armor pulsed with carefully regulated energy as they prepared for direct confrontation, preserving crucial evidence while maintaining reactor containment under mounting system strain. Azure energy cascaded across their protective corridor as Craxi cutting equipment breached adjacent sections. Nina's evolved capabilities strained to counter multiple threats simultaneously: the Raiders' advanced technology, Stephen's desperate countermeasures, and the station's deteriorating infrastructure demanded precise management of their remaining resources. Marcus channeled power through the maintenance drone network, synchronizing their electromagnetic fields to create a precise disruption pattern. Nina's crystalline armor pulsed in harmony with the drone's output, generating carefully calibrated interference waves that penetrated the pod's inner shielding matrix. The barrier flickered and destabilized as a tall figure emerged through the fluctuating energy field. Override Sequence Alpha 7 Delta, transmitted Weapons Development Chief Gregory Marshall, his security credentials streaming through their encrypted channel. His diagnostic unit interfaced with Nina's armor systems, providing direct access to the pod's remaining defensive protocols. Stephen's neural enhancement activated. Powell's voice cut through their tactical network. Direct interface with modified Craxi systems detected. Azure energy cascaded across Stephen's command chair as cybernetic implants extended through his nervous system. Marcus redirected power through Nina's evolved configurations, using her unique genetic patterns to generate precise interference frequencies. The young Draconis' hybrid systems adapted instantly, disrupting Stephen's neural connection while maintaining their protective field integrity. Final encryption breached, Hart announced from his floating terminal. His fingers flew across holographic controls as data streams filled multiple displays, confirming financial transfers from military contractors. Technical specifications from classified weapons programs. Direct communication with Craxi defense ministers. Stevens triggered emergency purge protocols, but Nina's armor had already spread through the pod's computer core. Her crystalline patterns preserved crucial evidence while preventing data destruction. Through their enhanced interface, Marcus detected the full scope of Terra Prima's conspiracy, a complex web of corrupt officials and arms dealers extending deep into both human and Craxi power structures. Hostile units deploying specialized containment equipment, Walsh transmitted as his diagnostic systems highlighted multiple approaching signatures. Plasma-based capture systems designed for hybrid technology extraction. Marcus implemented rapid modifications to the maintenance drone network. The automated units salvaged components from damaged sections, establishing a defensive perimeter that prevented the Craxi raiders from collecting viable armor samples. Nina's protection field adapted continuously, maintaining precise control while countering the raiders' advanced containment technology. Neural interface showing critical power fluctuations, Morris reported through secured channels. His diagnostic unit mapped the electromagnetic patterns flowing through Stephen's cybernetic systems, detecting unstable feedback loops in the control circuits. Marcus coordinated carefully timed pulses through Nina's hybrid configurations. Her armor generated electromagnetic disruptions that targeted specific frequencies in Stephen's neural connection, systematically disabling his enhanced capabilities while preserving the pod's vital systems. The hull shuddered as Craxi cutting equipment breached additional structural points. Through Nina's enhanced sensors, Marcus divided remaining power between critical support systems and her evolving protection field. The maintenance drones salvaged vital components, creating temporary barriers that prevented complete structural failure. Quantum destabilizers activating, Harrison transmitted. Multiple units detected throughout the command center. Stephen's defensive grid powered up as specialized emitters targeted Nina's crystalline patterns. Marcus implemented emergency frequency shifts through her hybrid systems, constantly adjusting power distribution to maintain armor integrity. Her protection field adapted automatically, countering the destabilization effect while preserving essential life support functions. Nina's evolved capabilities achieved unprecedented synthesis with nearby infrastructure. Her armor flowed through adjacent systems, actively countering both Steven's cybernetic interface and the Raiders' technology. The terrorist leader activated desperate countermeasures, triggering cascading overloads through critical power nodes. Reactor containment failing. Powell's voice carried clear urgency. Power distribution showing critical instability. Marcus redirected additional resources through Nina's armor interface, establishing temporary regulatory circuits that prevented complete system collapse. The maintenance drone spread through vital junctions, salvaging components to maintain minimal containment integrity. Stevens remained barricaded in his modified command chair, surrounded by an arsenal of hybrid weapons technology as their protective corridor advanced toward final confrontation. Through their enhanced connection, Marcus detected Nina's armor achieving new levels of integration. Her crystalline patterns adapted constantly, countering multiple threats while preserving crucial evidence of Terra Prima's operation. The maintenance drones aligned in assault formation as power reserves continued dropping, their synchronized electromagnetic fields maintaining precise disruption patterns despite mounting system strain. Marcus channeled power through Nina's evolved interface, initiating a concentrated assault on Steven's position. The terrorist leader's cybernetic implants pulsed with artificial light as defensive turrets emerged from concealed panels, their targeting systems locking onto the approaching maintenance drones. Engaging automated defense grid, Stevens transmitted, his enhanced voice carrying synthetic overtones. Environmental controls activated around him, venting atmosphere from specific sections while redirecting radiation through compromised hull plates. Nina's crystalline patterns shifted instantly, creating localized pressure barriers while neutralizing the radiation threat. The maintenance drones moved in precise formations, their electromagnetic fields collaborating with her hybrid systems to systematically disable each weapon's platform. Neural interface showing dangerous power fluctuations. Morris transmitted as his diagnostic unit mapped Stevens' cybernetic emissions, detecting irregular patterns in the control circuitry. Marcus redirected energy through salvaged components, generating carefully calibrated interference pulses. Nina's armor resonated at specific frequencies, disrupting Stevens' neural connections while maintaining stable power distribution to critical systems. Primary reactor stabilized, Powell announced through their tactical network. Redirecting auxiliary power through Nina's evolved interface. Stevens' eyes widened as his enhanced capabilities began failing. Deadman protocols active, he transmitted. Neural termination triggers demolition charges throughout remaining structure. Detecting automated detonation systems, Hart confirmed from his floating terminal. Multiple explosive devices linked to Stevens' cybernetic signature. Marcus adjusted their assault strategy, modulating interference patterns to gradually degrade Stevens' control while preventing complete neural disconnection. Nina's hybrid capabilities adapted continuously, maintaining precise disruption levels that preserved vital computer cores. Final security layer breached, Hart announced as data streams filled surrounding displays. Accessing Terra Prima research archives. Hybrid weapons specifications confirmed. Direct communication records with Craxi defense ministers. Through their enhanced connection, Marcus watched Nina's armor flow through adjacent systems, preserving evidence while countering Stevens' desperate attempts at data purging. The maintenance drone secured critical storage units, protecting proof of corruption extending through both species' military hierarchies. Hull integrity critical, Walsh transmitted. Craxi cutting equipment breaching additional sections, detecting specialized recovery units targeting hybrid technology. The station shuddered as raiders deployed advanced extraction tools. Marcus divided diminishing power reserves between structural reinforcement and Nina's protection field, salvaging components from damaged equipment to establish temporary barriers. Stevens' neural interface requires constant synchronization with modified Craxi systems, Morris reported, his diagnostic unit highlighting specific emission patterns, detecting regular frequency adjustments in the control circuits. Marcus implemented rapid modifications to Nina's armor output, disrupting the terrorist leader's cybernetic capabilities while carefully avoiding Deadman switch activation. The crystalline patterns achieved unprecedented integration with surrounding infrastructure, actively countering both enhanced human and Craxi technology. Secondary cores entering purge state, Harrison transmitted. Stevens attempting to eliminate remaining evidence. The maintenance drones spread through adjacent sections, securing crucial data storage while continuing their advance. Stevens activated his final defensive measure, specialized quantum emitters designed to destabilize Nina's hybrid systems at the molecular level. Quantum disruption field detected, Powell warned. Molecular interference targeting Nina's evolved capabilities. Marcus established redundant power circuits through salvaged components, maintaining essential protection while preventing complete armor failure. Nina's crystalline patterns adapted automatically, generating controlled resistance that preserved core functions despite mounting system strain. The maintenance drones created temporary barriers, using recovered materials as Marcus coordinated with Powell to initiate systematic shutdown of Stevens' remaining control systems. Through their enhanced interface, Nina's armor continued demonstrating extraordinary capabilities flowing through adjacent networks, preserving vital evidence and maintaining critical containment as they prepared for final capture operations. Azure energy cascaded across Stevens' command chair as his neural implants struggled against their carefully calibrated interference. The terrorist leader's enhanced systems pulsed with unstable power as Marcus maintained precise disruption patterns, preventing both escape and Deadman switch activation while securing his position. Marcus channeled additional power through Nina's interface as Stevens' cybernetic systems emitted erratic energy pulses. The terrorist leader's neural implants flickered with unstable patterns, while emergency displays highlighted critical fluctuations spreading through modified Craxi equipment. A section of reinforced wall panels retracted, revealing intelligence operative Webster emerging from a concealed observation post. Override sequence intercepted during deep surveillance, Webster transmitted through their secured channel. His neural link projected authentication codes across encrypted displays, accessing Stevens' primary control protocols now. The maintenance drones adjusted formation as Webster transmitted override data. Marcus implemented precise modifications through Nina's evolved interface, systematically isolating each component of Stevens' neural system. The terrorist leader's enhanced capabilities degraded in controlled stages as automated destruction triggers remained inactive. Reactor stabilization achieved, Powell announced. His diagnostic feed highlighted rising pressure readings. Secondary coolant chambers showing dangerous compression levels. Nina's crystalline patterns flowed through adjacent infrastructure, establishing temporary regulatory circuits. Marcus redirected power through salvaged components, while the maintenance drones reinforced critical junctions. Coolant pressure decreased gradually as their enhanced systems maintained precise control. Metal screamed as Craxi cutting equipment breached the primary docking collar. Hostile units deploying specialized containment gear, Walsh transmitted. His sensors mapped multiple signatures advancing through the breach, detecting molecular analysis systems targeting Nina's hybrid technology. Marcus activated emergency modifications across their drone network. The automated units generated synchronized electromagnetic fields, creating precise interference patterns that prevented viable sample collection. Nina's protection field adapted continuously, maintaining essential functions while countering the raiders' advanced extraction tools. Accessing quantum storage archives, Hart reported as encrypted data filled surrounding displays. Technical specifications confirmed mass production facilities designed for hybrid weapons development. His analysis highlighted communication records linking Terra Prima operatives to military officials across multiple star systems. Stevens convulsed in his command chair as neural feedback cascaded through enhanced circuits. Interface showing biological rejection symptoms, Morris transmitted. His diagnostic unit mapped dangerous oscillations throughout the terrorist leader's cybernetic systems. Control stability decreasing rapidly. The maintenance drones established precise power regulation through Nina's evolved capabilities, preventing catastrophic implant failure. Marcus implemented careful adjustments to her armor emissions, disrupting Stevens' remaining control while preserving critical life support functions. Structural alerts flashed across multiple displays as Craxi cutting equipment penetrated additional hull sections. The maintenance drones salvaged components from damaged areas, creating temporary barriers that channeled remaining power reserves to essential systems. Nina's hybrid interface achieved unprecedented integration, simultaneously countering both Stevens' degrading neural connection and the Raiders' containment technology. Neural degradation accelerating, Harrison transmitted as his security protocols mapped Stevens' failing cybernetic systems. Involuntary signals detected in demolition charge circuits. Marcus redirected additional energy through Nina's armor, generating precise interference patterns that isolated each explosive device. The maintenance drones spread through adjacent sections, establishing redundant control barriers as Stevens' neural implants continued deteriorating. Through their enhanced connection, Nina's crystalline patterns adapted constantly, maintaining systematic disruption while preserving crucial evidence of Terra Prima's operation. Reactor containment holding, Powell confirmed. His engineering feeds highlighted multiple backup systems activating through Nina's hybrid interface, maintaining stable power distribution to critical infrastructure. The terrorist leaders' enhanced systems pulsed with artificial light as automated defenses struggled against their carefully calibrated interference. Marcus coordinated with Webster to implement final shutdown procedures, systematically disabling each component of Stevens' neural interface while preventing accidental detonation of remaining explosives. Nina's evolved capabilities flowed seamlessly through surrounding systems, preserving vital data cores as structural damage continued spreading through outer station sections. Marcus redirected power through Nina's interface, establishing a specialized containment matrix around Stevens' command pod. The terrorist leaders' neural implants sparked with unstable energy as their carefully calibrated interference patterns prevented complete system collapse. Containment field active, Marcus transmitted, implementing final isolation protocols. Stevens convulsed violently, his cybernetic systems emitting dangerous power surges throughout the pod. Emergency displays flashed warnings as his neural interface initiated unauthorized override sequences. Detecting critical instability in Stevens' control circuits, Morris announced, diagnostic readings fluctuating across surrounding screens. Neural pathways showing signs of imminent failure. Nina's crystalline patterns flowed through adjacent systems, automatically adapting to counter each surge. The maintenance drones adjusted their electromagnetic fields, creating precise barriers that contain the spreading disruption. Primary data cores secured, Hart transmitted as encrypted files streamed across his terminal. Accessing restricted archives, confirming experimental records. His voice carried a note of shock. Multiple documented cases involving Draconis children. Marcus directed the maintenance drones to establish redundant storage systems, preserving copies of the damning evidence. Nina's hybrid capabilities maintained stable connections throughout the network while preventing Stephen's desperate attempts at data purging. Reactor stabilization complete, Powell reported. His engineering feeds displayed steady power curves as Nina's interface achieved unprecedented synchronization with station infrastructure. Hybrid systems demonstrating exceptional integration levels. Through their enhanced connection, Marcus watched Nina's armor flow seamlessly through surrounding equipment. Her evolved capabilities initiated automated repair sequences in damaged sections while maintaining critical containment protocols. Alliance vessels approaching on tactical vector, Harrison transmitted, providing safe approach corridors through drone defensive screen. The station's external sensors tracked multiple Craxi ships breaking away from their breaching positions. Marcus redistributed power through salvaged components, reinforcing compromised hull sections as the raiders withdrew. Stephen's neural implants emitted one final surge before falling silent. The terrorist leader slumped in his command chair as carefully modulated interference patterns prevented Deadman's switch activation. His enhanced systems powered down in controlled stages, decades of illegal technological integration finally disabled. Beginning emergency containment of modified Craxi equipment, Morris transmitted as Alliance engineering teams secured the hull breaches. Medical teams standing by for implant removal procedures. Nina's armor continued generating protective fields around damaged sections, while Alliance crews implemented structural repairs. Marcus monitored her readings carefully as the hybrid system began demonstrating new capabilities, integrating core protection protocols directly into her biological structure. Detecting unprecedented adaptation in Nina's hybrid matrix, Morris announced. His diagnostic unit mapped the emerging enhancement patterns. Protection systems achieving permanent biological integration. Marcus initiated precise power adjustments as Nina's external armor entered controlled shutdown. The crystalline patterns flowed inward, merging seamlessly with her natural systems while maintaining essential defensive capabilities. Nina moved closer to Marcus as her hybrid protection stabilized, no longer requiring the physical armor but permanently enhanced by its evolved technology. The maintenance drones mapped multiple Alliance teams spreading through adjacent sections, documenting Terra Prima's illegal operations while securing remaining evidence. Marcus transmitted detailed technical specifications of Nina's hybrid system development, ensuring the technology could help protect other vulnerable children without being weaponized. Stephen secured for transport, Harrison reported as medical units prepared the terrorist leader for transfer. Alliance custody protocols active. Nina watched the proceedings from beside Marcus, her permanently enhanced systems adapting smoothly to their new configuration. The old engineer monitored her readings continuously, ensuring stable integration as they awaited final departure clearance. Implementing station lockdown procedures, Harrison transmitted, maintaining secure perimeter until complete evidence recovery. Alliance investigators continued cataloging recovered data while emergency crews reinforced damaged sections. Through their shared connection, Marcus detected Nina's enhanced capabilities settling into stable operational patterns, a lasting advancement that would help ensure her future safety while allowing natural development. The maintenance drones maintained their defensive screen as additional Alliance vessels arrived, securing the station while preserving crucial evidence of Terra Prima's conspiracy.